Chapter 2444. This matter couldn't be delayed. He had to let Zhang Dafei and the others deal with it as soon as possible. In the past, Qin Feiyang wasn't so eager. But now, he was just one step away. Everyone was like this. When there was a long way to go, they wouldn't think about it. But when the goal was close at hand, the strong desire was unprecedented. Qin Feiyang was in such a mood now. He couldn't wait to find the alchemy fire and the alchemy furnace and refine a divine-level alchemy furnace. Qin Feiyang left the cultivation room and quickly walked out of the castle. Fire Lotus came up to him. "How is it?" Qin Feiyang asked. Fire Lotus was holding a chinquin bag in her hand. Looking at Qin Feiyang's anxious look, she couldn't help but shake her head and smile. Then she handed the chinquin bag to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang grabbed the chinquin bag and opened it. There was nothing inside, only chinquin bags. He didn't know how many there were. Not only the divine crystals and soul stones under the herb field, but also the divine crystals and soul stones looted from the city lord's mansion. Fire Lotus said, "How many soul stones did we leave?" Qin Feiyang asked. "About 100 billion. Fire Lotus said, "That's enough." Qin Feiyang smiled and appeared in the tea room with the chinquin bag. "Young lord." Zhang Dafei and Fire Lotus immediately bowed. "Here you are." Qin Feiyang threw the chinquin bag to them. Zhang Dafei grabbed the chinquin bag and checked it. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he asked suspiciously, "What's inside?" "Soul stones, divine crystals." Qin Feiyang sat on the chair and took a sip of tea. "What?" The two were shocked. How many divine crystals and soul stones were there in so many chinquin bags? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "You won't lose out if you follow me. That's for sure. We've never doubted young lord's kindness to us." The two of them were so excited that their faces were blooming with smiles. "I'm not a saint. Since I've put in so much effort, I'll definitely get something in return," Qin Feiyang said. The two of them were stunned for a moment before replying in unison, "Please give us your orders. Within an hour, find me 3 grade 3 divine flames and a grade 4 divine furnace." Qin Feiyang said, "No problem. With this wealth, it'll be a piece of cake. Wait here. We'll go to the treasure pavilion now." Zhang Dafei patted his chest and made a solemn vow. Then, he dragged Fan Yunzhang toward the door. "Right. The person who wants to see you should be here soon." Zhang Dafei turned his head and said something to Qin Feiyang. Then, he opened the door and ran out with Fan Yunzhang happily, closing the door behind him. Chao Dayuan, who was at the side, could only feel envy. Qin Feiyang didn't pay any attention to him. He took out the medicinal pill with 10 veins and played with it while drinking tea. "Is this real?" Chao Dayuan rubbed his eyes and looked at the elixir in Qin Feiyang's hand. 1, 2, 3. It was actually 10 patterns. Oh my God! How terrifying was this person's attainments in alchemy? The longer he followed Qin Feiyang, the more terrified he felt and the more regretful he felt. He only hated that he was too stupid back then. Dong! About a few hundred breaths passed. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. "Open the door." Qin Feiyang glanced at the door and said to Chao. Chao Dayuan immediately trotted over and opened the door. Immediately, 2 old faces entered Qin Feiyang's line of sight. They were 2 old women, white hair at the temples. Their bodies were bent. They both had a cane in their hands. Chao Dayuan retreated to the side and said, "Lords, please come in." The 2 old women walked in, glanced at the private room, and walked directly to the tea room. Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 of them suspiciously. Who was this? Chao Dayuan also closed the door and looked at the 2 old women suspiciously. Their cultivation bases were not very high. They were only at the Great God realm. There was no aggressive aura on them. However, when they saw Qin Feiyang sitting leisurely at the tea table and not getting up to greet them, one of the old women couldn't help but feel angry. Swish! Immediately after, the old woman went forward and grabbed Qin Feiyang's face, slapping him and saying, "You brat, you're getting bolder and bolder. Seeing that we're here, you still don't get up to greet us?" Chao Dayuan looked at this scene in shock. Qin Feiyang himself was also stunned. How could there be such a rude person? Pulling others' ears as soon as he came up? The other old woman shook her head with a wry smile and said, Sister Rushuang, don't be like this. Sister Rushuang? Qin Feiyong was stunned and looked at the old woman in surprise. Feeling sorry for him? You little girl, you only know how to protect him. The old woman rolled her eyes and then let go of Qin Feiyong's slap. Sitting opposite Qin Feiyong, she looked at Qin Feiyong and said, Why aren't you pouring us tea? Oh. Qin Feiyong nodded and instinctively picked up the teapot, but suddenly frowned and said angrily, Why? Don't you have hands? The old woman looked at Qin Feiyong and said unhappily, Isn't pouring tea for the elderly the most basic etiquette? Don't take advantage of your seniority. Qin Feiyong snorted and said, Show your true form. Guess. The old woman smiled mockingly. Is there a need to guess? Qin Feiyong was speechless. The two old women looked at each other and smiled, then took a facial restoration pill. Soon, the two beautiful women appeared in front of Qin Feiyong. It was Qin Rushuang and the mermaid princess. Chao Dayuan, who was standing at the side, was stunned. There was actually such a beautiful woman in this world. Qin Feiyong looked at the two and shook his head. I really didn't expect that it would be the two of you who came to see me. Am I not welcome? The mermaid princess said. Of course. Qin Feiyong stood up and opened his arms. The mermaid princess did not care about Qin Rushuang and Chao. She walked forward and hugged Qin Feiyong. What does this have to do with anything? Chao Dayuan was dumbfounded. The mermaid princess hugged Qin Feiyong's waist tightly and whispered, I miss you. I miss you too. Qin Feiyong nodded, and his eyes were very tender. He asked softly, How have you been these years? Very good. Everyone takes good care of me, especially the 5 ancestors. The mermaid princess nodded. 5 ancestors? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Why were there so many of them? The first mermaid emperor, the first black-winged emperor, and the first white-winged emperor are all her ancestors. Qin Rushuang said, What about the other 2? Qin Feiyong looked at her suspiciously. Qin Rushuang said, Of course it's my father and uncle Lu Zhengyang. Ancestors? Lu Zhengyang? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Qin Rushuang teased, She will become your wife sooner or later. Your ancestors are her ancestors, aren't they? Ha! Qin Feiyong laughed dryly and said, That's true. Hearing the conversation between the two, the mermaid princess could not help but blush. Qin Feiyong could not help but be mesmerized for a moment. Qin Rushuang coughed dryly and said, Let me tell you, don't mess around in public. Even Qin Feiyong's face couldn't help but turn red. All right. Just a hug for a while will do. Let's get down to business, Qin Rushuang said. Qin Feiyong let go of the mermaid princess and pulled the mermaid princess to sit together. He looked at Qin Rushuang and hugged the mermaid princess. He smiled and said, Girl, we really can't show off our love like this in the future. Otherwise, some old people will feel stifled. The mermaid princess burst out laughing. Bastard, who are you calling an old person? Qin Rushuang suddenly stood up, so angry that her cheeks were puffed up. You're still single at this age. According to the secular world, you're already an old leftover woman. Qin Feiyong chuckled. Qin Feiyong. Qin Rushuang gritted her teeth. Sister Rushuang, don't be angry. Don't be angry. It's bad for your health. The mermaid princess quickly stood up and comforted her. Keep him in check. Qin Rushuang glared fiercely at Qin Feiyong, and then returned to her seat angrily. The mermaid princess smiled helplessly and looked at Qin Feiyong. Feiyong, we came to you this time because of that mission? Qin Feiyong was stunned. He looked at the mermaid princess and then at Qin Rushuang, frowning. After all this, you're here to persuade me? Not really. We're here because we miss you too much. This is just a side trip, the mermaid princess said. Only a ghost would miss him. Qin Rushuang snorted. The mermaid princess could not help but laugh. Feiyong, this mission was actually given to you by our ancestors. You can't let them down. Don't mention it. I'm still very uncomfortable in my heart. Why can you, even Mu Tianyang and the others, go directly to the dragon-slaying palace, but I have to be left outside? Qin Feiyong said. Qin Rushuang frowned and said, Father is doing this for your own good. I admit that. He definitely won't harm me. But think about it. Since we met in the Sea of Sky Dragons, how many words have we spoken to each other? If it were you, would you feel comfortable? Qin Feiyong said. Qin Rushuang smiled helplessly. All right, it's not like we won't see each other in the future. There's still plenty of time. We'll talk about it later. Although you didn't enter the dragon-slaying palace, our ancestors didn't forget about you. Just like your current status as the young Supreme Lord. It's something that countless people in the dragon-slaying palace dream of. The mermaid princess said, and in order to make you the young Supreme Lord of the dragon-slaying palace, Father and Uncle Lu are under a lot of pressure. Because compared to the other 3 young Supreme Lords, your cultivation is too weak. If you don't do it now, how will Father and Uncle Lu face the others in the dragon-slaying palace in the future? Qin Rushuang said, I know that too. But I'm really busy now. The Black Tortoise world is in the process of growing. I have a lot of things to deal with myself, and I still have to cultivate. How can I have time to care about other things? Qin Feiyong sighed helplessly. The Black Tortoise world is growing? Qin Rushuang looked at him suspiciously. Yes, the Black Tortoise world is now bigger than before. The overall strength of the Black Tortoise world has also increased by several levels. Fortunately, the Fire Lotus has been helping me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have time to cultivate. Qin Feiyong said. The Fire Lotus is still there? The mermaid princess was stunned. Then, she looked at Qin Feiyong meaningfully. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Then, he said in amusement, What's with that look? Qin Rushuang said, Don't you understand? Love grows with time. Shut up. Qin Feiyong glared at her. Wasn't she just blindly making a fuss? Chapter 24:45. The mermaid princess giggled. Actually, you don't have to be so nervous. I don't mind. It's normal for men to have multiple wives. Besides, I'm quite happy to have one more person to help me take care of you. Silly girl. Qin Feiyong flicked her forehead and looked at the 2 girls. Let me think about this mission. No. You have to give us an answer now. Qin Rushuang shook her head. The mermaid princess smiled. And you can't refuse. So you're saying that I still have a choice? Qin Feiyong frowned. No. This is a mission given to us by Father. We have to complete it. The 2 girls said. Qin Feiyong was speechless. Our ancestors are really something. They let you persuade them. Don't blame Father. He's doing this to give you a chance to cultivate your force. This way, you'll have a say in the dragon-slaying palace in the future. I'll tell you the truth. The other 3 young lords are doing the same thing now. Qin Rushuang said. Qin Feiyong was surprised. It's just that they're not in the north. They've entered the Dragon God Palace in the west, south, and east respectively. In short, this is an invisible competition. It's about your position in the dragon-slaying palace in the future. Qin Rushuang said. I see. No wonder Fan Yunzhang said that sometimes it's better to fight for it. Qin Feiyong whispered. We all know that you're afraid of trouble, but at this time, you can't act according to your temper, because if you can control the north, not only will it be useful for you, but it'll also be of great help to Father, Qin Rushuang said. The mermaid princess nodded. Sigh. Qin Feiyong sighed and looked at the 2. You've come in person. If I still refuse, won't you be sad? All right, I'll reluctantly agree. That's right. Qin Rushuang smiled. Qin Feiyong waved and said, You can go. Go? Qin Rushuang was stunned. Yeah, I've already agreed. Why are you still here? Qin Feiyong said. What a heartless bastard. Qin Rushuang glared at Qin Feiyong, then got up and grabbed the mermaid princess, saying, Sister, let's go. Qin Feiyong hurriedly hugged the mermaid princess. He looked at Qin Rushuang and said, I told you to go alone. Qin Rushuang was stunned and said angrily, Brat, don't go too far. Can't you just understand? We haven't seen each other for so long, of course, you understand? As Qin Feiyong spoke, he gave Qin Rushuang an ambiguous look. Qin Rushuang's face darkened. Don't even think about it before we're married. Your thoughts are so dirty. I just want to be alone with her for a few days. You actually thought of such a thing. It seems that the thinking of old people is still different from us young people. Qin Feiyang joked. Bastard. Qin Rushuang raised her fist and threw it at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang got up and ran. Don't run if you dare. I'd be a fool if I didn't run. Watching the two of them, one running in front and the other chasing from behind, the mermaid princess could not help but shake her head and laugh. Chao Dayuan, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. In his impression, Qin Feiyang was a swift and decisive person who handled matters calmly. He did not expect that there was such a side to him. That's not right. How did your cultivation become so strong? Hold it, hold it. This is unbelievable. You're actually a great perfection paragon? Until then, Qin Feiyang finally noticed Qin Rushuang's cultivation and hurriedly waved his hand. Qin Rushuang slapped Qin Feiyang on the head, her face full of pride. Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Rushuang and then at the mermaid princess. He was stunned. This little girl was also a great perfection paragon? What was going on? Qin Feiyang walked to the mermaid princess and carefully checked. She was really a great perfection paragon. The mermaid princess smiled and said, "The dragon-slaying palace has a space-divine object. The time formation inside is much more powerful than the ancient castle." How powerful? 10 years in a day? Qin Feiyang was surprised. That's not right. Even if it was 10 years in a day, it couldn't be that fast, because the ancient castle's time rule was also 10 years in a day, and now, he had just broken through to a consummate divine lord. The mermaid princess said, 50 years in a day? No way. Qin Feiyang was stunned. 50 years in a day? That was 5 times faster than the ancient castle. Chao Dayuan, who was next to him, was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. 50 years in a day? How incredible was that? How is it? It's much better than your ancient castle that takes 10 years in a day. You must be envious. Now, do you regret that you didn't go to the dragon-slaying palace crying and screaming? Qin Rushuang looked at Qin Feiyang mockingly. She also learned about the changes in the ancient castle from the divine general. As for the divine general, she naturally learned about it from Fan Yunzhang. Because Fan Yunzhang had been to the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang also told him about it. Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear to Qin Rushuang's words. 50 years in a day, that was too scary. If the white-eyed wolf knew about it, it would definitely be devastated. Because Qin Rushuang and the others left, the white-eyed wolf was very unhappy. When the ancient castle was unsealed and the time rule changed, it gloated and laughed at Qin Rushuang and the others. But now, it suddenly found out that Qin Rushuang and the others were actually cultivating in a space-divine object that lasted 50 years a day. It would definitely go crazy. It was too shocking. It was too unbelievable. The ancient castle really couldn't compare. Qin Rushuang said proudly, "When we break through to the 9 heavens realm, I guess you'll still be a divine lord. Am I that unbearable?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and asked, "What about old Zhao and the others?" To be honest, he was a little envious. They're definitely stronger than you. They're about to break through to the perfected paragon god level, especially the blood Kirin. It's already breaking through to the perfected paragon god level, Qin Rushuang said. Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. These guys were also running too fast, right? They already left him a major realm behind. Didn't that mean he had to work harder? He regretted it. Why did he take on this mission in a moment of weakness? Wasn't it a waste of time? Swoosh. Right at this moment, 2 middle-aged men appeared out of thin air. They were Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang in disguise. The two of them were directly teleported over through the altar. "Greetings, ladies." The two of them immediately bowed when they saw Qin Rushuang and the mermaid princess. "You know us?" Qin Rushuang was surprised. Jiang Dafei said, "The divine general told us. Of course, we know you." "I see. Then you have to help Feiyang in the future," Qin Rushuang said. As the apple of the Qin Emperor's eye, her status in the Dragon Slayer Palace was naturally quite high. She was even higher than Qin Feiyang, the young master. "We will." The two of them nodded respectfully. Qin Rushuang nodded and fell silent. Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang walked up to Qin Feiyang and said respectfully, Young master, we did not disappoint you. Then, Zhang Dafei took out 3 iron boxes and a bronze cauldron. Qin Feiyang confirmed and sent the alchemy fire and bronze cauldron to the ancient castle. He looked at the 2 of them and said with a smile, "Very good. In the future, continue to help me keep an eye on 4th-grade divine fires and 5th-grade divine furnaces." Yes. The 2 of them nodded. Fan Yunzhang looked at Qin Rushuang and Fan Yunzhang and asked, "Young master, what about the mission? 2 influential lobbyists came here. How can I refuse?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. Just as the divine general expected, Fan Yunzhang laughed. Cough, cough. Zhang Dafei quickly coughed. Fan Yunzhang was stunned. Then, his expression changed slightly, and he quickly shut his mouth. What the hell? This has something to do with the divine general? Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 of them and frowned. The 2 of them stammered. "Speak," Qin Feiyang shouted. "Yes. If you don't accept the mission, the divine general can't do anything." So, he thought of asking the 2 ladies to persuade you. And he said that it would definitely work. Zhang Dafei lowered his head and said, "Great. You actually followed him and schemed against me behind my back." Qin Feiyang's eyes turned cold. The 2 of them hurriedly said, "Young master, we had no choice. We could only do this." Qin Feiyang glared at the 2 of them and waved his hand. "Go, go." As for you, Zhang Dafei, the 2 of them were about to leave. But when they heard Qin Feiyang had something else to say, they stopped and turned to look at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "The city lord and the 2nd commander are dead. If you still don't have the ability to get the position of the city lord of Holy Dragon City, it means that you're not very capable." Qin Feiyang looked at Zhang Dafei and said. Zhang Dafei's eyes trembled slightly. "Do you understand?" Qin Feiyang asked. "Yes. I'll do my best." Zhang Dafei nodded. How could he not understand when he had made it so clear? If he couldn't get the position of the city lord of Holy Dragon City, he would lose his value. Then, he would have to take back the soul stones and divine crystals that he had given him. He might even lose his life. Qin Feiyang said, "You 2 can divide the soul stones and divine crystals among yourselves." "Yes." The 2 of them responded respectfully, then turned and ran out as if they were running for their lives. Qin Rushuang said, "Then we'll be leaving too?" Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Rushuang, then at the mermaid princess, and said reluctantly, "Can't you stay with me for a few days?" "I want to as well. But the ancestor has instructed that we must leave immediately after completing the mission. Because our identities are very sensitive now. If the dragons find out, we'll be in danger." The mermaid princess's face was also full of reluctance. "All right." Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly and said, "Take care of yourself." "You too." The mermaid princess nodded and said. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Qin Rushuang. He said, "I'll leave her to you. Don't let anyone bully her." "Do I need you to tell me that?" Qin Rushuang rolled her eyes at Qin Feiyang and activated a teleportation altar. "I'm really leaving." The mermaid princess grabbed Qin Feiyang's hand and looked up at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang nodded and reached out to gently tidy up the mermaid princess's messy hair on her forehead. "What are you 2 doing? It's not like you're parting forever." Qin Rushuang was speechless. She grabbed the mermaid princess and leaped onto the altar. "Be careful." The mermaid princess said worriedly. "I will." Qin Feiyang smiled. Soon, the 2 of them disappeared. The teleportation altar also disappeared. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed and put away his disappointment. He brought Xiao Dayuan and entered the castle. Chapter 2446. Cultivation Room. Qin Feiyang ignored Xiao Dayuan, opened the iron box, and took out the 3 third-grade divine fires. The nether devil flame immediately pounced. Boom. The next moment, the nether devil flame's aura soared. "This is..." Xiao Dayuan was surprised. What kind of alchemy fire was this? It could actually evolve by devouring other alchemy fires? When the nether devil flame rose to 4th grade, Qin Feiyang immediately used the bronze cauldron to refine pills. The nether devil flame was 4th grade, and the bronze cauldron was also 4th grade. This time, he could definitely refine a divine pill. He was filled with anticipation as he refined a healing pill. Roar. But when the healing pill came out of the cauldron, there was a series of dragon roars. What's going on? Hualien, Hua-Yi, and Heibao heard the commotion and ran in. They looked at the bronze cauldron in bewilderment and saw an elixir flying out and being caught by Qin Feiyang. Although it was short-lived, they could clearly see that there was a dragon-shaped pill aura on the pill. A divine pill. The 2 men and 3 beasts immediately ran to Qin Feiyang's side and stared at Qin Feiyang's hand. Chao Dayuan was the same. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Why do I see that you guys are more excited than me? Don't talk nonsense, let us see." Hua-Yi urged. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and slowly opened his palm. The healing pill immediately appeared in front of everyone's eyes. There was a dragon-shaped pill aura on it, like a real baby dragon. It's really a divine pill. Chao Dayuan was stunned. This person could actually refine a divine pill. A heaven-defying divine artifact, the dragon-slaying temple's young lord, a divine pill. How many secrets did he have that no one knew? Boss, you're amazing. The 3 Black Panther brothers were full of admiration. This was the first time they had seen a divine pill in their lives. Huai said in surprise, "I wonder how effective this divine healing pill is. Isn't it simple? We'll know when we find someone to test it." The 3 Black Panther brothers looked at Chao Dayuan. "Why are you looking at me?" Chao Dayuan panicked. "Don't panic. This is boss's first time concocting a divine pill. You should feel honored that I'm giving you the first divine pill I've refined." The Black Panther 3 brothers chuckled and immediately swarmed up, giving Chao Dayuan a good beating. "Stop. I don't want this honor." Chao Dayuan roared. "You still don't want it? You really don't know what's good for you." The 3 Black Panther brothers were furious. They became even more ferocious and merciless. Accompanied by a shrill scream. Chao Dayuan was soon beaten black and blue. Even his 2 arms had been shattered. "I'm begging you, stop hitting me. I want it, I want it, I want it. Okay?" Chao Dayuan shouted weakly. How could there be such a person who didn't want to force others to do it? Wouldn't it have been fine if you had done this earlier? Why do you have to go against us? The 3 Black Panther brothers pursed their lips. The 3rd Black Panther ran in front of Qin Feiyang and said, "Boss, give me the healing pill." Qin Feiyang shook his head with a smile and threw the healing pill to him. The 3rd Black Panther grabbed the healing pill and ran to Chao Dayuan's side, stuffing it into Chao Dayuan's mouth. As soon as the pill entered Chao Dayuan's mouth, his injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even the arms that he had lost were being regenerated. Fire Lotus said in surprise, "This effect is not bad. It's almost comparable to the divine pill of life." "Yes." Huai nodded and said with a smile, "After all, it's a divine pill. The effect is definitely different." The Black Panther said, "If it's a divine pill of life, won't such injuries be healed in an instant?" "Instant recovery is a bit exaggerated. It will take some time more or less. But I believe that 10 divine pills of life can definitely heal in an instant." Fire Lotus said with a smile, "10?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. It was already rare to be able to refine a divine pill with a dragon-shaped divine pill of life, let alone 10. Qin Feiyang, if pills like Chaos Divine Pills and Nirvana Divine Pills are replaced with divine pills, will the effects change? Huai asked curiously. Chaos Divine Pills? Nirvana Divine Pills? Qin Feiyang paused for a moment and shook his head. There's no record of this in the alchemy mantra. After that, he turned around and checked the alchemy mantra. There was indeed no record of such information. Fire Lotus said, "Since the healing pill has changed, then these pills should also change." "I'm not sure about the Chaos Divine Pills, because the Chaos Divine Pills are used to increase cultivation, but the Nirvana Divine Pills, these pills are used to open the door of potential. I don't think there will be much change. After all, there's only one door of potential in each cultivation level," Qin Feiyang said. "Then let's try the Chaos Divine Pills first. Maybe we can break through 2 levels now." Fire Lotus said expectantly, 2 levels? You're dreaming too much." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. Fire Lotus said, "How will we know if we don't try?" "All right, I'll try refining one, Qin Feiyang said. Fire Lotus immediately took out a set of medicinal herbs. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and started to refine pills. Hua Yi, Fire Lotus, and the three Black Panther brothers took the initiative to retreat and maintain a distance. As the spiritual liquid of several medicinal herbs was refined one after another, the Chaos Divine Pill was finally out of the furnace. There was also a dragon-shaped pill chi on it. Who should I try it on? Qin Feiyang asked. Hui said, of course it's you. Here, except for Qin Feiyang, everyone's cultivation had surpassed the Divine Lord level. That's not good. I'm now a consummate Divine Lord. If I can't break through 2 levels, my cultivation will be stuck at the consummate Divine Lord level. Qin Feiyang frowned. Does that matter? Hua Yi was suspicious. Of course it does. A consummate Divine Lord needs 8 billion soul stones to break through to the half-step Supreme God level. A consummate Divine Lord only needs 600,000 soul stones to break through to the consummate Divine Lord level. When I cultivate to the consummate Divine Lord level, I'll take the Chaos Divine Pill and break through to the half-step Supreme God level. It'll save me a lot of time. Qin Feiyang said. That makes sense. Hui nodded and frowned. But the problem is, only you and the white-eyed wolf are Divine Lords. The Black Tortoise world has given birth to some Divine Lords, but we can't let them get such a good pill. Fire Lotus smiled. The white-eyed wolf? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and patted his head. Yes, let's go find the white-eyed wolf. Immediately, a group of people rushed to the outside of the white-eyed wolf's cultivation room. Dong. Qin Feiyang knocked on the door a few times. Get lost. However, a furious shout could be heard from the inside. Qin Feiyang's face twitched. After being in seclusion for so many years, his temper had changed. He said, "It's me." There was a moment of silence. The stone door slowly opened. The white-eyed wolf finally appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Its fur was golden, and its eyes looked as if they were cast in gold. What was even more surprising was on its back, there were 2 golden wings. In the middle of the white-eyed wolf's eyebrows, there was a blood-red pattern. They looked like the wings of a fire phoenix. This was the change the white-eyed wolf had after breaking through to the false god level. It was extremely handsome. But until now, Qin Feiyang still didn't know why the white-eyed wolf had become like this. He had asked before, but the white-eyed wolf just kept him in suspense. The white-eyed wolf glanced at Chowdoun and the 3 black leopard brothers, picked its nose and said, "Not bad, you got so many little brothers." We're little brothers? Then what are you? It was the first time they had seen the white-eyed wolf. Not only them, but Big Black Wolf and Li Changhe had also never seen the white-eyed wolf in person. Wow! The white-eyed wolf looked at the 3 black leopard brothers in surprise. These 3 guys didn't understand the situation. Who was the boss here? Ahem. Qin Feiyang coughed and looked at the white-eyed wolf. He said, "You've been in seclusion for so long, but your cultivation hasn't improved much. Are you blind? You call a consummate Divine Lord not improving?" The white-eyed wolf rolled its eyes. "You've been in seclusion every day. What kind of improvement is that? Look at me. I've been busy, but I've already become a consummate Divine Lord." Qin Feiyang pouted. "Then why don't you say that you used to be stronger than me? We'll talk about it later. I've already become a peak consummate Divine Lord, and I'll soon become a consummate Divine Lord. When the time comes, I'll take a Chaos Divine Pill and become an ultimate god. Kid, take your time to catch up." The white-eyed wolf looked disdainful. "You're about to break through?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Of course. Do you think I've been in seclusion all these years for fun?" The white-eyed wolf snorted. "Fine." Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and put the Chaos Divine Pill in front of the white-eyed wolf. He said, "Look. Damn, a divine pill?" The white-eyed wolf was surprised. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "You made it?" The white-eyed wolf asked. "Who else could it be?" Qin Feiyang chuckled. The white-eyed wolf exclaimed, "Little brother, not bad." He actually called boss little brother? Big sister, where did this guy come from? Why do I feel that he's so amazing? The three Black Panther brothers looked at Fire Lotus suspiciously. You don't know this, but the white-eyed wolf was the first to follow Cheendage. I think it was when Cheendage was 15 years old. They went through fire and water together and never left each other. So, the two of them are very close. Let's put it this way. They're closer than brothers, so don't be presumptuous in front of him in the future. Fire Lotus laughed secretly. I see. The three Black Panther brothers suddenly understood. It seemed that they had one more person to curry favor with. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "This is a Chaos Divine Pellet. Take it. A divine-grade Chaos Divine Pellet can help you break through 2 minor realms." The white-eyed wolf was stunned for a moment and said in surprise, "Are you sure?" "Of course. Based on our relationship, why would I lie to you?" Qin Feiyang's face didn't turn red and his heart didn't skip a beat. He solemnly nodded. Hua-Yi, Fire Lotus, and the three Black Panther brothers looked at each other. Why didn't they know that this Chaos Divine Pill could help them break through 2 small realms? Wasn't this deliberately tricking the white-eyed wolf? Sure enough, the closer one was, the easier it was to be tricked. The white-eyed wolf believed it and stuffed the Chaos Divine Pill into his mouth without the slightest doubt. Although he was about to break through to the Perfection Monarch God realm, he still needed some time. Since he could break through directly, why would he waste time cultivating? Chapter 2447. Step back, step back. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and shouted, "You're a scammer. If it doesn't break through 2 small realms later, you'll see how it will settle the score with you." Hua-Yi gloatingly transmitted his voice. If it didn't break through 2 small realms, the white-eyed wolf's cultivation would naturally stop at Perfect Monarch God. In other words, it was already about to break through to Perfect Monarch God. Once it broke through, it would take the Chaos Divine Pill and step into Half-Step Supreme God. And now, if it couldn't break through 2 small realms after taking the Chaos Divine Pill in advance, then it wouldn't be able to take the Chaos Divine Pill again. In other words, how much time would it waste to cultivate to Half-Step Supreme God step by step? With the white-eyed wolf's character, once it knew that it had been scammed, it would never have a day of peace. Don't gloat. When the time comes, I'll say that you instigated it, Qin Feiyang secretly said. I instigated it? Well, he was slightly taken aback, and suddenly he was so angry that he blew his beard and glared. Boom! All of a sudden, the white-eyed wolf's aura rushed out uncontrollably and immediately soared. In less than 5 breaths, its cultivation had successfully stepped into Perfect Monarch God. But its aura didn't stop. It was still soaring. Can it really break through 2 small realms? Qin Feiyang and the others were surprised. In the end, it turned out that this was true. The white-eyed wolf's aura didn't stop at all and crazily soared all the way. Boom! Suddenly, a muffled explosion came from its body. This loud sound was the sound of the shackles between Monarch God and Supreme God being broken. In other words, the white-eyed wolf succeeded. It was also at this moment, the white-eyed wolf's soaring aura finally stopped. In a situation like this where it crossed realms, it was impossible to break through directly. After breaking through the shackles, it still needed to cultivate by itself. But it wouldn't take long. For Half-Step Supreme God, it would only take a year and a half. In other words, the white-eyed wolf only needed to cultivate for a year and a half to step into Half-Step Supreme God. A year and a half was nothing to cultivators. Even with the Soul Stone, it would take more than 10,000 years to break through from a perfect Sir God to a Half-Step Supreme God. Compared to over 10,000 years, a year and a half was not even a drop in the ocean. Especially in the castle, it would only take 2 hours. Sure, the white-eyed wolf was extremely excited. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Quickly go and refine the Nirvana Divine Pill. After opening the door of potential, I will go and cultivate." It's really not bad, Qin Feiyang murmured. His heart was filled with excitement. The white-eyed wolf was the best proof. Now, he could boldly consume it and, like the white-eyed wolf, break through to the half-step transcendent God level. Let's go. Let's continue refining pills. Qin Feiyang chuckled and turned to enter the cultivation room. A short while later, 2 Nirvana Divine Pills, and one Chaos Divine pill came out of the furnace. Both of them had dragon-shaped pill chi. You helped the white-eyed wolf open the door of potential. Qin Feiyang handed a Nirvana Divine pill to Fire Lotus. Fire Lotus walked out with the white-eyed wolf. Qin Feiyang immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and consumed the Chaos Divine pill. Hua Yi, the three Black Panther brothers, and Chao Dayuan all watched from the side. Boom. Soon, his aura also burst out uncontrollably and soared all the way. I'm so envious, Chao Dayuan muttered. Back then, it took a lot of time to break through to the half-step Sir God level. But now, this man and wolf only used one pill to break through two small realms. Comparisons are odious. This saying was indeed true. The three Black Panther brothers were also filled with emotions. If they didn't follow this person back then, they might not be able to step into the half-step transcendent God level even after a few thousand years. Fate was so wonderful. A single mistake could change the fate of a lifetime. Compared to Chao Dayuan, they were much luckier. This was because the difference in treatment was like the difference between heaven and earth. Boom. Finally, Qin Feiyang's cultivation base broke through to the perfect Sir God level. His aura was still soaring. This feeling of consecutive breakthroughs is so cool. At this moment, Qin Feiyang was especially excited, because he hadn't experienced this kind of satisfaction brought about by consecutive breakthroughs for a long time. The last time he broke through consecutively was when he took the 9 Chu Yellow Dragon Pill, and the 9 Transformation Dragon Blood Pill, 5 Elements Universe Pill, and 4 Symbols Infinite Divine Pill could only increase his cultivation by one small realm. Perhaps, if these 3 pills were exchanged for divine pills, they could probably increase his cultivation base by 2 small realms. But at that time, he couldn't refine divine pills. However, the past was the past. There was no need to regret. Cherish the present. Boom. His aura became stronger and stronger. However, just as he was about to break through the shackles, the soaring aura suddenly stopped. Then his aura receded like the tide. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Hua Yi, the 3 Black Panther brothers, and Chao Dayuan also looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. What was going on? Could it be that the breakthrough failed? But it was impossible. The white-eyed wolf had succeeded before. Hua Yi asked, Qin Feiyang, is there a problem somewhere? How would I know? Qin Feiyang frowned and sensed the energy in his body, only to find that the energy of the Chaos Divine Pill had already dissipated. Did he really fail? But that wasn't right. Didn't the white-eyed wolf break through 2 small realms in a row? Could it be because the white-eyed wolf is about to break through to the perfect Divine Lord realm, so the energy of the Chaos Divine Pill is just enough for him to break through to the half-step Divine Lord realm? Hua Yi frowned. It doesn't make sense. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Because the energy of the Chaos Divine Pill had not been used up. In other words, success or failure had nothing to do with energy or cultivation. Could it be luck? He couldn't be so unlucky. Oh, war. At this time, there was a deafening wolf howl outside. Qin Feiyang got up and walked out of the cultivation room. He saw that the white-eyed wolf had already broken through the Divine Lord realm and successfully opened the door of potential. When they saw Qin Feiyang, the Fire Lotus and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. What was going on with his cultivation? Why did he stop at the perfect Divine Lord realm? He failed. Hua Yi smiled helplessly. Failed? How is that possible? Didn't he just say that he would definitely break through 2 small realms? The white-eyed wolf looked at Hua Yi and said, He lied to you. Before this, he didn't know the effect of the divine level Chaos Divine Pill at all. Hua Yi said, He didn't know? Then isn't he using me as a lab rat? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Ahem. Hua Yi coughed dryly and nodded. That's a bit of it. Little Qin Zi, you bastard. The white-eyed wolf suddenly burned with anger and rushed toward Qin Feiyang with bared fangs and brandished claws. Hua Yi had a face full of schadenfreude. But suddenly, the white-eyed wolf braked and stopped, looking at Qin Feiyang. What's going on? He actually held back and didn't make a move? This isn't the white-eyed wolf's character, Hua Yi muttered. The white-eyed wolf suddenly grinned and also gloated. Screw him then. Anyway, I've already succeeded. It doesn't matter. And from this incident, It proves that my character is better than his. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. Are you jealous? Jealous? Hate? Haha. You want to screw me over. But in the end, you screwed yourself over. You can slowly be annoyed. I'm going to cultivate. Bye. The ingrate smiled mischievously at Qin Feiyang. Then, he walked with small steps while humming a little tune. He proudly entered the cultivation room. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. There was no other way. This guy should be showing off. Who told him to fail? But what was going on? Qin Feiyang couldn't figure out the reason for his failure. It couldn't be because of his character. It seemed that his character wasn't that bad. No, I have to find out the reason, Qin Feiyang muttered and looked at Fire Lotus. Girl, give me 10 sets of herbs, and then go to the Black Tortoise world to find 10 Sir Gods. I want to try. Okay. Fire Lotus shook her head and smiled. She took out 10 sets of herbs and handed them to Qin Feiyang. Then, she turned and left the castle, disappearing. Qin Feiyang also entered the cultivation room and started refining pills. Not long later, Fire Lotus returned with 10 people. There were men and women, old and young. Their cultivation was all at the half-step Sir God level. In the Black Tortoise world, a half-step Sir God was already considered a top expert. Therefore, their status in the Black Tortoise world was not low. But at this moment, standing in the castle hall, their eyes were filled with fear. Wasn't this the Devil's Land? Why was there not only an astonishing medicinal field here, but also an ancient castle? Dada. Along with the sound of footsteps, Qin Feiyang and his group walked out of the cultivation room. The 10 people were shocked. They couldn't see through the cultivation of these people. No wonder Pai Lupi and Theta Wang ordered that no one was allowed to enter the Devil's Land. It turned out that there was such a terrifying group of people hidden there. Wait, he seems familiar? Suddenly, the 10 of them stared at Qin Feiyang with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. It's him, Qin Feiyang, who destroyed the Vanga League and Fengtian Palace back then, one of the old men exclaimed. Actually, to the Black Tortoise world, the name Qin Feiyang was not unfamiliar. Because not only had Qin Feiyang wandered in the Black Tortoise world back then, he had also been seen when the Gate of Rebirth was opened and the living beings in the Black Tortoise world were revived. In the Black Tortoise world, Qin Feiyang was a legend. However, no one in the Black Tortoise world knew that Qin Feiyang was the master of the Black Tortoise world. They also didn't know that the divine treasures and divine items that suddenly appeared in these years were given to them by Qin Feiyang. Hello. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The 10 people's faces were full of panic. Don't be afraid. I didn't ask you to come here to hurt you. On the contrary, I'm here to give you good fortune. Qin Feiyang chuckled. With a wave of his hand, 10 chaos divine pills appeared. Dragon-shaped core energy. They're all divine pills. The 10 people were shocked. In the ancient world, divine pills were rare, let alone in the Black Tortoise world. In the eyes of the living beings in the Black Tortoise world, divine pills were legendary items. And now, 10 divine pills appeared at once. One could imagine how big of an impact it would have on them. Each of you will take one now. Qin Feiyang smiled. Is there such a good thing? The 10 people were stunned and their eyes became vigilant. Who knew what kind of pill it was? What if it was poisonous? Hurry up, or we'll kill you. The 3 black leopard brothers released their auras and ferocious auras. They were all half-step to the divine realm. Their auras were no doubt comparable to the might of the heavens to the 10 half-step divine lords. The 10 people's eyes trembled. They could only bite the bullet and stuff the pills into their mouths. Chapter 24:48. What attitude? This kind of good fortune is something that others can't even ask for. Now that it's in front of them, they still look like they are guarding against thieves. They don't know what's good for them. The 3 black leopard brothers snorted coldly. You can't blame them. If it were you and someone suddenly came and gave you a divine pill, you would definitely suspect that the other party has ulterior motives. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Before his voice faded, the aura of the 10 people broke out of their bodies uncontrollably. This is? The 10 people were bewildered. Why did they feel that their cultivation was increasing? In less than 10 breaths, The 10 people stepped into the initial stage of Lord God one after another. Breakthrough? How is this possible? I just broke through to the half-step Lord God a few days ago. I'm about the same. I just broke through to the half-step Lord God half a year ago. What kind of divine pill is this? It actually has such a heaven-defying ability. The 10 people were bewildered, feeling as if they were dreaming. It was too unreal. Following closely, they were shocked to find that their aura was still rising, as if they could break through to the initial stage of Lord God. Qin Feiyang looked at the 10 people without blinking, but suddenly, the aura of 8 of them stopped rising. Obviously, they had all failed. How could this be? Qin Feiyang frowned and looked at the other 2, a trace of surprise in his eyes. The soaring aura of the 2 did not seem to have any signs of stopping. Boom! After a few breaths, the 2 broke through and stepped into the initial stage of Lord God. At this time, their aura calmed down. Breaking through 2 small realms in a row? Oh my God! Are we dreaming? The 2 looked at each other in disbelief. Plop! Suddenly, the 2 knelt on the ground and looked at Qin Feiyang, saying gratefully, "Thank you for the good fortune bestowed by young Master Qin. We will remember it forever. We are willing to serve young Master Qin." Seeing this, the other 8 people also hurriedly knelt on the ground to thank him. The Black Leopard boss was stunned and said, "You can't be thinking that the boss gave you good fortune because he wants you to serve him? Isn't it?" The 10 people looked at him suspiciously. "You must be joking. What can you do for boss with your little cultivation? I gave you these pills purely to test their efficacy." Black Panther said disdainfully, "Using divine pills to test the efficacy of the medicine?" The 10 of them looked at each other. One had to know. This was a divine pill. Giving it to them just like that? He was too willful. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered. Out of 10 people, 8 failed and 2 succeeded? In other words, there was a probability. Could it be? Qin Feiyang abruptly raised his head and looked at the 10 people. Fire Lotus asked, "What did you think of?" Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. With a wave of his hand, the 10 of them disappeared, sent out of the devil's land. Based on my speculation, not everyone can succeed in the second minor realm. There is a certain probability. Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus and the others and said, "Probability?" Everyone was stunned. Yes. In the past, the success rate depended on the pill veins. The more veins there are, the higher the success rate. 10 veins can increase the first minor realm with a 100% success rate. In the second minor realm, I think it has something to do with the dragon-shaped pill veins. The more dragon-shaped pill veins there are, the higher the success rate of the second minor realm, Qin Feiyang said. Hearing this, everyone began to ponder. Fire Lotus said, "You mean, a Chaos Divine pill with dragon-shaped pill veins only has a 10% chance of increasing the second minor realm?" Yes. In fact, it's the same as the pill veins in the past. The more dragon-shaped pill veins there are, the higher the success rate of the second minor realm. If there are 10 dragon-shaped pill veins, I believe that the Chaos Divine pill can definitely increase the second minor realm, Qin Feiyang said. Hui nodded and said, "It seems that this is the only explanation that makes sense. What about the Nirvana Divine pill? When you helped White-Eyed Wolf open the door of potential, was there any difference?" Qin Feiyang looked at Fire Lotus and asked suspiciously. "I didn't find anything different. However, compared to when Big Black Wolf and Black Panther opened the door of potential, it seemed to be a little easier. It doesn't seem to be that painful," Fire Lotus said. Qin Feiyang pondered and said, "Maybe this is the effect of the divine level Nirvana Divine pill. It's easier to open the door of potential than before." Hui grinned and said, "After talking for so long, it's still your bad luck." Qin Feiyang's body stiffened. The White-Eyed Wolf succeeded, and 2 others succeeded just now. Doesn't this prove that your luck is bad? Hui joked. That's enough. Qin Feiyang glared at him. What did this have to do with his luck? At most, he was just a little unlucky. Hui patted Fire Lotus's shoulder and chuckled. "Look, you're almost angry from embarrassment." Fire Lotus couldn't help but laugh. Sigh. Qin Feiyang let out a long sigh helplessly. He really couldn't figure it out. How could his luck be worse than the White-Eyed Wolf's? Logically speaking, a shameless guy like the white-eyed wolf should be extremely unlucky. Had the world changed? That's right. The world must have changed, and he could only admit that he was unlucky. Huff. Qin Feiyang let out a long breath, looked at Fire Lotus and said, "Girl, let me see those legendary level artifact and divine arts." Fire Lotus nodded, and with a wave of her pure white hand, 5 holy artifact S and 4 jade strips appeared. Qin Feiyang had a deep impression of one of the 5 holy artifact S. It was the black sword that was sealed inside the ice mountain. At that time, in order to snatch this holy artifact, Shunrong had tried to sneak an attack on the youth, but the youth had killed him instead. The other 4 legendary level holy artifact S were a flaming long blade and 3 black battle axes. Boss Black Panther swept his gaze across the 5 holy artifact S and finally looked at the 3 battle axes. He laughed and said, "Boss, I think that these 3 battle axes are very suitable for us 3 brothers." "What do you mean by suitable?" "It's a perfect match for us." Black Panther's second brother and third brother roared as they stared at the 3 battle axes, their eyes filled with desire. "Are you the only ones who talk too much?" Fire Lotus stared at them. The 3 Black Panther brothers laughed embarrassedly. Qin Feiyang glanced at the 3 Black Panther brothers, shook his head and laughed and said, "Take it." "What?" The 3 Black Panther brothers were stunned. "Take it? Did they hear wrongly? What are you still standing there for? You don't want it?" Fire Lotus was speechless. "Think about it." The 3 Black Panther brothers quivered and immediately rushed forward. Each of them grabbed a battle axe and quickly dripped blood to bind it to them, as if they were afraid that someone else would snatch it away. Originally, Qin Feiyang wanted to let Fire Lotus send these holy artifacts to the divine treasury, but after thinking about it, the 3 Black Panther brothers had done their best in the Black Tortoise world these years, so he might as well give them to them. How can this emperor be left out when dividing up the holy artifacts? At this time, accompanied by a roar, the big black wolf ran out of a cultivation room on the 2nd floor and rushed in front of Qin Feiyang. Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan also walked out of the cultivation room one after another, but they were not as energetic as the big black wolf. The two stood by the corridor on the 2nd floor, looking at the people below. Their expressions were very calm. But if one looked closely, one would find that there was a trace of desire in their eyes. The big black wolf glanced at the black sword and the flaming long blade, then looked up and stared at Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan, saying, "You two are not allowed to fight with me." Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan looked at each other and could not help but smile bitterly. They did not seem to have said anything, so why were they being treated as competitors? The big black wolf withdrew his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang with a pitiful expression. He said, "Big brother, I have followed you through life and death. Even if I didn't contribute, I still worked hard. Even the 3 Black Panther brothers had a share. You can't forget me." That pitiful look was just short of tears. Qin Feiyang's face darkened, and with a wave of his hand, the black sword and flaming long blade swept in front of Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan like lightning. Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan were stunned. The big black wolf was also taken aback. He glanced at the 2 god weapons and cried out anxiously, "Big brother, you can't do this to me. I'm extremely loyal to you. Heaven and earth can be my witness." Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead and said helplessly, Okay, I won't forget you." Hearing this, the big black wolf frowned and said, "The holy artifacts have been divided. What else can you give me?" "The holy artifacts are gone. You can find them later." Qin Feiyang was helpless. "Then how long do I have to wait?" The big black wolf felt wronged. Li Changhe glanced at the big black wolf, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Young master, why don't you give them to the big wolf first?" Yes. The big black wolf immediately became spirited. It nodded repeatedly at Qin Feiyang as if it was pounding garlic. "No need. You two take them," Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile. Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan looked at each other and gladly took them. Li Changhe chose the black sword, and Wang Daoyuan chose the flaming long blade. "I can give you the holy artifacts, but not the holy techniques, because mastering too many holy techniques may not be a good thing for you." Qin Feiyang looked at the 3 Black Panther brothers and Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan. Qindage is right. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Fully comprehend the holy techniques you have. It will be enough for you to use for the rest of your life. Fire Lotus said, Understood. Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan and the three Black Panther brothers nodded. In fact, in this world, no matter what holy technique it was, there was room for improvement. More might not necessarily be better. The key was the essence. If one studied a deity art thoroughly and worked hard to raise its level, it could still become a terrifying and peerless killing technique in the end. Big brother. The big black wolf really cried. Enough. I don't want to give it to you now, because I want to find you a better holy artifact. Qin Feiyong was helpless. Better? The big black wolf was slightly stunned and said, Isn't that a heaven-defying holy artifact? Are you willing to give it to me? A better holy artifact might not be a heaven-defying holy artifact. Even if they are all legendary holy artifacts, there are differences in strength, and their abilities are different. So don't worry, the divine land is so big. You will definitely find a holy artifact that suits you. Qin Feiyong comforted. Okay. The big black wolf nodded. That's right. Qin Feiyong smiled and turned to look at Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan, saying, There is actually a reason why I gave you holy artifacts first. The two looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Qin Feiyong said, I need you to help me complete the task of replacing the city lord. I see. The big black wolf suddenly understood. Replacing the city lord of a major city was not a small matter, and the process would definitely involve countless risks. Once exposed, they would even be hunted down by the dragons. That was why Big Brother gave them holy artifacts first, so that they would have enough strength and the ability to protect themselves. This time, the big black wolf had no complaints in his heart. The task was more important. Chapter 2449. However, when Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan heard this, their expressions were a little awkward. Is there a problem? Qin Feiyong asked. Young master, since you take care of us so much, we will help you share the burden, but I'm afraid that my ability is limited and I can't do it. Li Changhe said, It's fine for ordinary small cities, but the city lords of those large cities are stronger than us. I'm really worried that not only will we not be able to help, but we will also bring you a lot of trouble. Wang Daoyuan also nodded. It's good to know your own limits, but you have to have confidence in yourself. Of course, I won't let you go alone. I will let Zhang Dafei help from the side. With his help, there shouldn't be a problem. But if you really encounter a problem that you can't solve, don't act rashly. Send me a message and I'll solve it. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, his eyes filled with encouragement. All right, we'll do our best. The two of them looked at each other and nodded heavily at Qin Feiyong. Then how long will it take for you to break through to the initial stage of the Nine Heavens realm? Qin Feiyong asked. I'm about to break through, because as early as 10,000 years ago, I had already broken through to the initial stage of the Nine Heavens realm, Li Changhe said. I'm almost there too. At most, 2,000 or 3,000 years, Wang Daoyuan said. Qin Feiyong laughed. 2,000 or 3,000 years. It's only 200 or 300 days outside. It's very fast. Go and cultivate in seclusion. Yes. The two of them respectfully replied and turned to enter the cultivation room. Qin Feiyong also entered the cultivation room to check the 4 legendary level divine arts. The 4 divine arts were Heavenly Dragon's 9 Steps, Bright King's Golden Body, Fire and Thunder Divine Art, and Divine Armor. Heavenly Dragon's 9 Steps was an auxiliary type of divine art, but it also had an extremely strong destructive power. A total of 9 steps. Each step was stronger than the previous one. When the last step was taken, it could summon a heavenly dragon that could destroy the heavens and earth. The Bright King Golden Body was similar to Mu Tianyang's Fiend God Body. It was a life-saving divine art. When one's life was on the line, activating the Wisdom King's Golden Body would allow one to block a fatal attack. The Fire Thunder Divine Art was a pure killing technique, using fire to condense divine lightning. After fully comprehending it, one would be able to summon the lightning pool, which would send down an endless amount of fire and lightning. It possessed the power to destroy the world. As for the heavenly deity armor, this was a purely defensive divine art. Just like the battle symbol formula, it could transform into armor to protect its owner. However, compared to the heavenly deity's armor, fire and lightning divine technique, Heavenly Dragon's 9 steps, the Bright King's golden body was a little more powerful. This was because the Bright King's golden body could block a fatal blow from an expert who was a whole realm higher than him. In other words, given Qin Feiyang's current level of cultivation as a perfect god sovereign, if he activated his golden body of the Bright King, he would be able to block a full-force blow from a perfect god sovereign without dying. However, once his opponent surpassed the Great Circle Paragon level, the Bright King golden body would be rendered useless. Furthermore, there was also a limit to the Wisdom King golden body. It could only be activated once a day. Although there were restrictions, it was indeed a rare life-saving secret technique. Immediately, Qin Feiyang began to meditate in seclusion. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, time passed quietly. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed in the ancient castle. Qin Feiyang had finally mastered 4 legendary divine arts, but he had only mastered them. If he wanted to comprehend the true meaning behind them, he would still need a lot of time. But at least now, he had a few more trump cards in his hands. 10 years in the ancient castle was only 1 day outside. Qin Feiyang did not stay any longer. After changing his appearance, he left the ancient castle with Chao Daiyuan and appeared in the private room. A day passed. The waiter of the Fenghua restaurant had not come to the private room even once. Because it was normal for ordinary people to stay in the restaurant for 10 days to half a month, let alone 1 or 2 days. Qin Feiyang did not continue to stay in the Fenghua restaurant. After paying the bill, he returned to the Dragon God Palace. The journey was very smooth. When Chao Daiyuan passed by the square, Yi Zhong did not ask. However, when Qin Feiyang returned to the valley, he saw a snow python lying by the pool in the valley. As for the young man, he was still lying on the snow python's head with a stalk of green foxtail grass in his mouth. His hands were resting on his head as he closed his eyes and dozed off. The clothes on his body were tattered. At first glance, one would think that he was a little beggar. Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment. He took an illusory form pill and changed back to Li Bu-er's appearance. His cultivation was still suppressed to the level of a war god. He looked at the young man and smiled. "When did you come?" The young man slowly opened his eyes, glanced at Qin Feiyang and said, "You came early in the morning. You're quite busy. You disappeared early in the morning. I'm different from you. You're the law enforcement hall master the moment you enter. You can have anything you want. As for me, I have to rely on my own efforts." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "It's quite sour." The young man chuckled, sat up and asked, "Are you interested in going to the law enforcement hall?" "Go to the law enforcement hall?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Yes. The people in the law enforcement hall are all too bored. So I want to find an acquaintance to go to the law enforcement hall to chat with this young master." This young master thought about it. "And it seems that you're the only person I'm slightly familiar with. That's why I came to find you," the young man said. "Where would I have the time to chat with you?" Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. He was too busy with his own matters. Besides, he came to the Dragon God Palace for a mission, not to play. The young man was slightly stunned. Obviously, he did not expect Qin Feiyang to refuse and said, "This opportunity is very rare. Forget it. I still prefer to stay here and cultivate quietly." Qin Feiyang shook his head. This person's background was unknown. It was best to keep a distance. "All right." The young man waved his hand and gently stomped his foot. The snow python lying on the ground immediately rose into the air. "Wait." Qin Feiyang suddenly stopped the young man and asked, "How did you and Longzuan resolve it?" "Not much. I just returned the divine stone of fate to her, and then she ignored me," the young man said. "That's simple?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "How complicated do you think it is?" the young man asked. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. People with strength are indeed different. But is it really just that? The young man did not pay attention to Qin Feiyang anymore. The snow python carried the young man and rushed into the sky and quickly disappeared. Chao Daiyuan on the side retracted his gaze and muttered, Why do I feel that there's something wrong with this young man? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked, "What's wrong? He's such a strong person, but he actually came to find you, and even waited for so long just to find someone to chat with? Isn't he bored?" Chao Dayuan said. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Maybe he really feels bored. He didn't believe that this young man had any intentions towards him. Because in the Dragon God Palace, except for Chao Dayuan, no one knew his true identity. Buzz. Suddenly, the image crystal rang. Qin Feiyang frowned, entered the cave, and took out the image crystal. Two shadows quickly appeared. It was Zhang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang. Qin Feiyang was stunned, looked at Fan Yunzhang and said, "Why are you still in Holy Dragon City?" "It's not easy to come to Holy Dragon City. Of course I have to play for a few more days." Fan Yunzhang laughed. Qin Feiyang was speechless and said indifferently, "Speak. What are you looking for me for?" Fan Yunzhang's face turned solemn and said, "Young master, the mission is here." Qin Feiyang immediately raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "What other mission is there?" Zhang Dafei said, "Of course it's the mission to enter the Dragon God Palace." "Speak." Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly. If he had known that there would be so many troubles in the Divine Land, he would have hidden in the northern region to cultivate. It was all his own fault. Why did he come here in such a hurry? These two missions are very difficult. You have to be mentally prepared. First of all, the first mission is to get the Dragon God Palace's Stone of Destiny, Zhang Dafei said. Stone of Destiny? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Zhang Dafei smiled sheepishly. "We only just received the order." "What a pain in the ass." Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead. "What's wrong?" The two looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "If you had told me from the beginning, I might have already gotten the Stone of Destiny from that young man. But now, he has returned the Stone of Destiny to the Dragon God Palace," Qin Feiyang said. Although the young man might not give it to him, it was still easier than snatching it from the Dragon God Palace. Hearing this, Fan Yunzhang and Zhang Dafei looked at each other and smiled helplessly. Qin Feiyang said helplessly, "Since you said the first mission, there must be a second one. Tell me quickly." Zhang Dafei said, "The second mission is to persuade Yizhong to join the Dragon-Slaying Palace." "Persuade Yizhong? Join the Dragon-Slaying Palace?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and said angrily, "Are you kidding me? The Dragon God Palace was created by Yizhong. From this, it can be seen how loyal he is to the dragons. How can we persuade him to join the Dragon-Slaying Palace? It's best if we can persuade him, because Yizhong is too strong, comparable to the 4 sovereigns of the Dragon-Slaying Palace. If he joins, the strength of the Dragon-Slaying Palace will increase several times. If we can't persuade him, we can control or kill him. In short, if he can't be used by us, we have to get rid of him," Zhang Dafei said. "Control? Get rid of him?" Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He looked at Zhang Dafei angrily and said, "If you have the ability, then do it. If I had the ability to do so, would I still need to trouble you, young lord?" Zhang Dafei smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes, shook his head and sighed. "This is an impossible mission. We know it's difficult, but we believe that you can do it, young lord." The two of them laughed. "Do you really think I'm an omnipotent god?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. It could be said that persuading Yizhong to join the Dragon-Slaying Palace was countless times more difficult than snatching the Divine Stone of Fate. They really knew how to give him problems. "Wait." Qin Feiyang suddenly raised his eyebrows and looked at the two of them. "The other 3 young lords also have the same mission?" "Yes." "So, you have an innate advantage. Because Yizhong is now in the Dragon God Palace in the north. The pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first." The two of them laughed. "Come on." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. It was obviously a big trouble, and the pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first? What a nice way to put it. I've told you the mission. Take your time to plan. After the two of them finished speaking, the shadows disappeared, because they had a hunch that if they continued, the young lord would probably fly into a rage. Chapter 2450. Qin Feiyang also put away the image crystal and leaned against the wall with his eyebrows tightly knitted together. Chao Dayuan, who was beside him, was even more frightened. He didn't expect that the Dragon Slayer Palace would give Qin Feiyang such a task. Let's talk about the Stone of Destiny first. That was the thing that controlled the lives of everyone in the Dragon God Hall. Controlling the Stone of Destiny was equivalent to controlling the Dragon God Hall. For the Stone of Destiny, even Longzuan came in person, which showed how important the Stone of Destiny was. Then there was Yizhong. Whether it was strength or status, this person was one of the top in Divine Land. They actually wanted to persuade him to join the Dragon Slayer Palace. Even the Dragon Slayer Palace already had the intention to get rid of him. Terrifying. Really terrifying. Ever since he followed Qin Feiyang, he encountered more and more terrifying things. He was on tenterhooks every day. Phew. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang took a deep breath. Chao Dayuan immediately looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "You're not really going to accept this task, are you? Otherwise?" Qin Feiyang glanced at him and said, "Although there are 2 tasks, it's actually only one." "What do you mean?" Chao Dayuan was stunned. The Stone of Destiny should be in Yizhong's hands now, so as long as we can persuade him to join the Dragon Slayer Palace, the Stone of Destiny will naturally be in our hands. Qin Feiyang said. Chao Dayuan frowned and said, "Not necessarily. Maybe Longzuan took it back." "That's better," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "What do you mean?" Chao Dayuan was puzzled. If Longzuan really took back the Stone of Destiny, it means that Longzuan doesn't trust Yizhong very much. And this is our chance. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Understood. Chao Dayuan nodded. If Longzuan really didn't trust Yizhong, then this was a breakthrough. As long as they tried to reason with Yizhong, they might be able to convince him. Qin Feiyang said, "The young man shouldn't have gone far. Go and ask him who has the divine stone of fate." "All right." Chao Dayuan nodded. "Remember, don't try anything funny, or you won't be able to bear the consequences." Qin Feiyang warned. "How would I dare to have any thoughts now?" Chao Dayuan smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyang said, "All right then, go quickly and come back quickly." After saying that, he entered the castle. Chao Dayuan glanced at the place where Qin Feiyang disappeared, then turned around and dashed out of the cave. However, just as Chao Dayuan was about to leave the cave, Qin Feiyang appeared again. He activated the concealment art and followed Chao Dayuan out. When he left the cave and soared into the sky, he immediately saw the snow python. The snow python was slowly flying towards the depths of the Dragon God Palace. The young man sat on the head lazily, admiring the scenery below. Chao Dayuan was also looking at the young man and the snow python at this moment. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and looked at Chao Dayuan, frowning slightly. Why didn't he chase after it? Chao Dayuan didn't notice Qin Feiyang and seemed to be deep in thought. So what if it's a heaven-defying divine artifact? So what if it's the Dragon Slayer Palace? In front of the dragons, it's still an ant. Following the dragons is the wisest choice. Suddenly, Chao Dayuan muttered and lowered his head to look at the cave. A cold smile flashed in his eyes, then he turned around and looked at the entrance square. Then, he activated a teleportation altar. Sigh. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. He stepped forward, grabbed Chao Dayuan, and disappeared without a trace. In the castle, looking at the disappointed Qin Feiyang standing opposite him, Chao Dayuan's face was full of panic. What's going on? Didn't this person come to the castle before? Originally, I thought I could trust you now, but I didn't expect you to still want to betray me. Qin Feiyang sighed. No. Chao Dayuan hurriedly waved his hand. Then why did you activate the altar? And just now, those words you said to yourself, don't tell me you were talking in your sleep. Qin Feiyang said. I was wrong. Please give me another chance. Chao Dayuan's body stiffened. He hurriedly knelt on the ground and begged. What's wrong? At this time, Huai and Fire Lotus ran in and looked at this scene in confusion. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and shook his head. Sure enough, people who are not under my control can never be trusted. Hearing this, the two of them understood. Chao Dayuan was even more panicked. He wanted to go to Yizhong to inform him and thought that there would be no problem, because he saw Qin Feiyang go to the castle with his own eyes. Moreover, After this period of time together, he also felt that Qin Feiyang had begun to trust him. But he never thought that this person would be so cautious and be caught red-handed. There is a good saying, cleverness can be a mistake, and you are such a person. You are not qualified to play tricks in front of me. Killing intent flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. Don't. I was really wrong. Please, just give me another chance. I promise I won't dare to do it again. I beg you. Chao Dayuan begged again and again. His head also kept hitting the ground hard, making a loud bang sound. After a few hits, the skin on his forehead was lacerated and blood flowed out. But no one sympathized with him. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "Since you did something wrong, you have to pay the price. Kill him." Fire Lotus nodded and slapped Chao Dayuan's head. "Bastard, I'll fight it out with you." Chao Dayuan was so angry that he went crazy. He suddenly stood up and hugged Qin Feiyang, and a destructive aura immediately rushed out from his body. "You still want to self-destruct?" Fire Lotus laughed sarcastically. His 5 fingers were like eagle claws, grabbing onto Chao Dayuan's head and squeezing it hard. Ah! With a mournful scream, Chao Dayuan's head immediately exploded like a watermelon. Following that, Fire Lotus waved his hand again. Divine power surged out, and his body was also destroyed. What a pity! Qin Feiyang looked at the bloodstains on his body and shook his head. This bloodstain was naturally from Fire Lotus squeezing Chao Dayuan's head and splashing it on his body. Hui said disdainfully, "It's just an ant. What's there to pity? If he could be more obedient, I might even give him some benefits. It's good now. His life is gone. In the future, when I go in and out of the Dragon God Palace, I have to find other people. It's really troublesome." Qin Feiyang shook his head and walked out of the castle. He went to the courtyard to wash off the bloodstains on his body and then changed into a clean set of clothes. Hui suddenly said, "Qin Feiyang, let me go out for a stroll. After being in seclusion for so long, my bones are about to rust." "You?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "What's wrong? Can't I? At least now, I'm also at the initial stage of the imperishable realm. It's just a dragon god temple. It's like my own backyard." Hui smiled disdainfully. But Yizhong, Qin Feiyang frowned. Yizhong's specific cultivation was still unknown. What if he was stronger than Hui? If he was discovered, Hui would be in danger. "Don't worry. I will avoid him. Don't you want to loot the Dragon God Palace? I'll go check the situation for you first." Hui smiled mischievously. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed, saying, "All right then, go find that youth and ask him who has the divine stone of fate." "Youth?" Hui was stunned, saying, "I haven't seen him before. What does he look like?" Qin Feiyang waved his hand and condensed the youth's image, saying, "He is now the hall master of the enforcement hall. He is also very strong, on par with Yizhong." "Got it." Hui nodded and swallowed an illusory form pill, turning into Chao Dayuan's appearance. His cultivation was also suppressed to the same level as Chao Dayuan. "Good. That's even more perfect." Qin Feiyang chuckled and sent Hui out. "Qin Dage, the divine stone of fate has fallen into the hands of Long Zun and Yizhong. Will they find out that you have broken the fate contract?" Fire Lotus asked. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "As long as they don't deliberately investigate, they shouldn't find out. After all, there are so many people in the Dragon God Palace." Fire Lotus said worriedly, "But what if they investigate?" "We'll see then." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Now that he knew what the mission was, he didn't care too much about it. Because even if he wasn't in the Dragon God Palace, he could still find an opportunity to interact with Yizhong. "As long as you know what to do," Fire Lotus said with a smile. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Then I'll go cultivate. I have to break through to half-step transcendent God as soon as possible, or the white-eyed wolf will laugh at me again." "Okay." Fire Lotus nodded. Then, with Fire Lotus's help, he took a divine nirvana pill and opened the door of potential, then entered seclusion in the cultivation room to break through to half-step transcendent God. After breaking through to great perfection monarch God, Qin Feiyang's refining speed of soul stones increased by a lot. Now, he could refine about 1,150 soul stones a day. And for a great perfection monarch god to break through to half-step transcendent god, he needed to refine 8 billion soul stones. After calculating, that would take a total of more than 19,000 years, close to 20,000 years. What a terrifying number, especially for Qin Feiyang. Spending nearly 20,000 years to break through to a new realm was more terrifying than a nightmare. But fortunately, this was calculated according to the time outside. According to the calculation of 10 years per day in the ancient castle, 19,000 years was just over 1,900 days. In other words, it was a little more than 5 years. But compared to the white-eyed wolf, he was still at a disadvantage. But there was nothing he could do. This was fate. Who asked him to be so unlucky? Work hard to cultivate. Work hard was the way to go. On the same day, a red-robed old woman entered Holy Dragon City. She was holding a walking stick and limping. Her body was bent, but her eyes were inadvertently scanning the people passing by. There was a milky white light in her eyes. Beside the old woman was a middle-aged man in his 40s. "Mother, walk slowly," the middle-aged man whispered to the red-robed old woman as he supported her. It seemed that the eyes of the people who came and went around them were also flickering with wisps of light. Suddenly, the middle-aged man said, "Your Highness, are you sure that the city lord's mansion of Holy Dragon City was robbed by Qin Feiyang? Other than him, who else would have the guts? I really didn't expect him to come to Holy Dragon City before us." The red-robed old woman secretly snorted. "This person is really difficult to deal with. I wonder where he is hiding now?" The middle-aged man sighed, his face full of helplessness. "Don't worry, I've already thought of a way to lure him out. Let's go to the Fenghua building first, then you go to the Dragon God Palace and tell Yizhong not to act rashly before I take action." The red-robed old woman secretly said, "Your Highness, this is not appropriate. We all know that the reason why Lord Longzun asked him to take charge of the Dragon God Palace in the north is to let him solve this matter." The middle-aged man transmitted his voice, looking a little embarrassed. "I don't need it. I have the ability to solve it myself. He just needs to assist me from the side. When we go to the Dragon God Palace, tell him these words as they are," the red-robed old woman said. "All right." The middle-aged man nodded in response, a trace of helplessness between his brows. This princess was too eager to be strong. It might not be a good thing. Chapter 2451. Time flew by. Qin Feiyang had been in seclusion for half a year. Whoosh! At noon that day, an old man and a young girl suddenly appeared above the city lord mansion. The old man was over 80 years old and had white hair. He was wearing old yellow clothes, but his cultivation was extremely powerful. He suppressed the city lord mansion with a wave of his hand. The young girl was wearing a white dress. She was as pure as a fairy, beautiful and refined. But both of them were wearing masks. No one knew what they looked like. Zhang Dafei was seriously injured when the old man attacked. The city lord mansion's treasure vault, which had finally accumulated some savings, was robbed again. This matter made Zhang Dafei very depressed. Moreover, the lord of the Dragon God Palace was now in charge of the Holy Dragon City. In front of the old man, the lord of the Dragon God Palace could not withstand a single blow. This matter caused quite a stir. When Yizhong learned about this, he immediately sent out experts to arrest the old man and the young girl. But the old man and the young girl came and went quickly. No one knew where they went. Some time passed. Another nearby city lord's mansion's treasury was plundered. After investigating, everyone was shocked to find that it was the old man and the young girl again. This is too lawless. Who are they? People were talking about it. But this was not the end. Another period of time passed. A city called Serpent City was robbed by the old man and the young girl again. Serpent City was as big as the Holy Dragon City. It was one of the largest cities in the north. The two largest cities were robbed one after another. Everyone was no longer shocked, but panicked. This was a blatant act of going against the Dragon Clan. But the point was, no one had been able to catch them yet. Even when Yizhong personally took action, they still managed to slip away. And until now, no one knew what they looked like. They knew it was the old man and the young girl. As for the identity of the two, not only the dragons, but also the people of the Dragon Slayer Palace were secretly investigating. But these two were like a mystery. No one could find out their identity, and there was no pattern to their appearance. Next, every 10 days to half a month, the treasury of a city's city lord's mansion would be plundered by them, causing the people in the north to panic. One day, Fan Yunzhang sent a message to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was also quite surprised to learn about this. He never thought that there would be someone even crazier than him, looting so many cities in a row. Were they planning to loot all the cities in the north? Fan Yunzhang said, "Young lord, there are orders from above for you to find out the identity of these two mysterious masked men as soon as possible." "I'll investigate?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Yes." Fan Yunzhang nodded. "Where are the divine generals? Why didn't he investigate?" Qin Feiyang said, "The divine general has already investigated it, but he hasn't been able to find anything." Fan Yunzhang smiled bitterly. "If he can't find out, how can I? I don't have time. Also, don't send me a message before I come out of seclusion. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he turned off the image crystal and continued to cultivate in seclusion, ignoring the outside world. As time passed day by day, this old man and young man were getting more and more arrogant. When they were preparing to loot the city lord's mansion, they actually issued a notice in advance. It was as if they were deliberately luring everyone to watch the show. Boom. One day, in the castle, suddenly, a terrifying aura burst out. This aura, at first, was that of a perfected divine lord, but soon soared to that of a half-step divine lord. A woman walked into the castle. It was Fire Lotus. Seeing that the aura came from the cultivation room where Qin Feiyang was, Fire Lotus's eyes revealed a trace of a smile. After 5 years and 3 months of seclusion, she finally broke through. Then, she was about to turn around and leave the castle. But just as she turned around, a divine light suddenly emerged from the castle hall. Immediately after, a huge time array emerged from the ground, emitting a dazzling light. Fire Lotus looked at the time array in surprise. "What's going on?" Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, the 3 black leopard brothers, the big black wolf, and even the white-eyed wolf rushed out of the cultivation room. "I don't know." Fire Lotus shook her head. "It's really strange." The white-eyed wolf muttered and turned to look at Qin Feiyang's cultivation room. During these years of seclusion, Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan had stepped into the 9th heaven realm. The big black wolf and the 3 black leopard brothers had also stepped into the initial divine lord level. The white-eyed wolf had already stepped into the half-step divine lord level and was working hard to reach the initial divine lord level. And he was almost halfway there. The white-eyed wolf withdrew his gaze and looked at the time array on the ground. Why did the time array suddenly appear? Fire Lotus frowned and said, "Could it have something to do with Qin Dage's breakthrough?" "What do you mean?" The white-eyed wolf raised his head and looked at her suspiciously. Fire Lotus said, "Qin Dage had just broken through when the time array appeared. It appeared right after he broke through?" The white-eyed wolf was taken aback. "Yes." Fire Lotus nodded. The white-eyed wolf said in surprise, "Did something happen to the castle again?" "What do you mean?" Li Changhe looked at the white-eyed wolf in confusion. "This situation has happened several times before. Every time, the castle would change dramatically." "That's not right. The castle doesn't seem to be sealed anymore. Since there's no seal, why would it change?" The white-eyed wolf frowned. This was too strange. Boom. At this moment, the stone door opened and Qin Feiyang walked out. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Little Qin Zi, what's going on?" Fire Lotus, Li Changhe, Big Black Wolf, and the Black Panther brothers also looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang glanced at the time array on the ground and remained silent. The time array shone brightly and gradually left the ground and floated in the air. An obscure aura then spread out. Suddenly, the time array disappeared from the castle. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and hurriedly rushed out of the castle. Fire Lotus, White-Eyed Wolf, and the other beasts also hurriedly chased after him. They saw Qin Feiyang looking at the sky above the castle. They also looked up, and there was a trace of shock in their eyes. The time array did not disappear. Instead, It floated directly above the castle. It was getting bigger and bigger, and the light was getting brighter and brighter. The sky and earth of the Devil's Land were dyed with a layer of color. Suddenly, the time array turned into a divine rainbow and rushed into the sky, disappearing from the sight of Qin Feiyong and the others. It disappeared? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. It didn't disappear. Qin Feiyong shook his head with a trace of excitement on his face. Then what is it? Everyone looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "The time array has merged with the Black Tortoise realm." Merged? Everyone was stunned. Yes. And this is not an ordinary time array. It's a time array that's even more powerful than before. The smile on Qin Feiyong's face became even brighter. Even more powerful? Everyone looked at each other. The white-eyed wolf said angrily, "Can't you say it clearly at once? Why are you keeping us in suspense? Do you believe that I will beat you up?" Qin Feiyong lowered his head to look at the white-eyed wolf, then looked at Fire Lotus and the others, saying, "The time rules of the Black Tortoise realm have undergone another earth-shattering change. It can't be." Fire Lotus looked at Qin Feiyong in a daze. "Ha." Qin Feiyong finally couldn't help but laugh, saying, "You can't imagine how heaven-defying the time rules of the Black Tortoise realm are now. I can't take it anymore. Go die." The white-eyed wolf went crazy. He raised his claws and smashed them at Qin Feiyong. "I told you not to keep us in suspense. You're still laughing by yourself? How infuriating." Qin Feiyong dodged the white-eyed wolf's claws, then grabbed the white-eyed wolf and rubbed his head, saying, "The time rules of the Black Tortoise realm are now 100 years in a day." "What?" The white-eyed wolf was about to struggle, but when he heard this, his expression immediately turned sluggish. Fire Lotus, Li Changhe, Wang Daoyuan, Big Black Wolf, and Black Panther were also dumbfounded. 100 years in a day? Was this a joke? 10 years in a day was already heaven-defying. Now it was 100 years in a day? Heavens! This was too crazy. I'm just asking you if you're happy, and excited? Qin Feiyong rubbed Big Black Wolf's head and said excitedly, Happy, excited." The white-eyed wolf nodded repeatedly. 100 years in a day. How much time would he save in cultivation in the future? Just like before, Qin Feiyong needed more than 19,000 years to break through from a perfect monarch god to a half-step supreme god, and the castle needed more than 5 years. However, according to the castle's time rules of 100 years in a day, 100 days was 10,000 years. In other words, these 19,000 years only needed a little more than 190 days, which was a little more than half a year. It was too shocking. This was simply a cheating artifact. "Young master, congratulations." Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan came back to their senses and immediately smiled at each other. They were naturally very happy. Because the castle's time rules had become more powerful, their cultivation would be faster in the future. Wait. The white-eyed wolf frowned and struggled out of Qin Feiyong's clutches. He got up and looked at Qin Feiyong. "Isn't there no seal on the castle? I thought there was no seal at first, but when I broke through, a piece of information entered my mind. There are more than 3 seals in the castle, and the later seals are basically targeted at the time array," Qin Feiyong said. "What is the meaning of this castle? It's always playing this kind of surprise attack with us." The white-eyed wolf was unhappy. Qin Feiyong also shook his head and smiled bitterly. When Uncle Yuan first gave him the castle, he didn't know that there were seals in the castle. It was Mu Tianyang who noticed the abnormality in the castle. At that time, he realized that there was a seal in the castle. As expected, later, when he broke through a certain realm, the castle sent a message that there were 3 seals. However, as for the 4th seal, it didn't mention anything. And now, the 4th seal suddenly appeared. Wasn't this a deliberate attack? How willful. Couldn't he tell him everything at once? The white-eyed wolf asked, "How many more seals are there?" Qin Feiyong said, "In addition to the 4th seal, there are 2 more seals. In other words, the 5th and 6th seals?" The white-eyed wolf asked. "Yes." Qin Feiyong nodded. "Then what's the change? Could it be that after unlocking the 5th seal, the time rules will become 1,000 years a day? And after unlocking the 6th seal, It will become 10,000 years a day? The white-eyed wolf became more and more excited as he spoke, as if it would really happen. Chapter 2452. 8,000 years in a day? 10,000 years? Qin Feiyang was speechless. That was too idealistic. Such a nomological array was a legend. It was fine to dream about it. As for reality, it was impossible to even think about it. But one thing was for sure. 100 years in a day was not the limit of the ancient castle. When the 5th and 6th seals were unlocked, the time laws would accelerate. As for how fast it would be, only by unlocking the seals would they know. And the way to unlock the seals was to break through. When they broke through to the 9 heavens realm, they would unlock the 5th seal. When they broke through to the imperishable realm, they would unlock the 6th seal. The white-eyed wolf chuckled. If old Zhao and the others know about this, they will definitely regret it even more. Qin Feiyang was stunned. There's something I haven't told you. What is it? The white-eyed wolf was puzzled. Zhao Tailai, Tang Hai, and the others are already breaking through to the perfected Paragon God Realm. The Blood Kirin is already breaking through to the perfected Paragon God Realm. Qin Feiyang said. What? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. How could it be so fast? The Dragon Slayer Palace also has a time array. A day is 50 years. The reason I haven't told you is that I was afraid you would be shocked. But it doesn't matter now. Our time array is more powerful than the Dragon Slayer Palaces. As long as we are willing to work hard, it will be easy to catch up with them. Qin Feiyang smiled. A day is 50 years. Those bastards, no wonder they betrayed us one by one. The white-eyed wolf snorted. Cough, cough. Qin Feiyang choked on his saliva and said speechlessly, How can this be called betrayal? Besides, when they parted with us, they didn't know that the dragon-slaying palace had such a powerful time formation. Humph, isn't that betrayal? Just wait and see. I will deal with them sooner or later. I will go into seclusion. If I don't catch up with them, no, I will not come out of seclusion until I surpass them. The white-eyed wolf snorted and turned around and ran into the cultivation room without looking back. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. It seemed that this fellow would not be able to overcome this hurdle. However, this was also a good thing. This was because the white-eyed wolf could save him a lot of trouble if he cultivated seriously. Otherwise, with the white-eyed wolf's personality, no one knew what kind of trouble he would cause. It could be summed up in one sentence. He couldn't wait for the white-eyed wolf to go into seclusion every day. Qin Feiyang turned his head to look at Li Changhe and the other man. He smiled and said, You two have also broken through. I broke through long ago. But seeing that you were in seclusion, we didn't dare to disturb you. Li Changhe. Qin Feiyang nodded and turned to look at the fire lotus, saying, Prepare enough soul stones for them. Although they're going to complete a mission, they can't neglect their cultivation. All right. Fire lotus nodded. You guys cultivate first. When I leave the Dragon God Palace, I'll bring you out. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking to Li Changhe and the other man, he left the castle with the big black wolf. Inside the cave, after more than 5 years, it was already covered in a thick layer of dust. But Qin Feiyang ignored him. He glanced at the big black wolf and smiled. Not bad. You've also broken through to the early stage of the Paragon God Realm. Just kidding. If you still don't break through, wouldn't it be a waste of those pills to open the door of potential? The big black wolf chuckled. Then how many soul stones do you need to break through from the half-step Paragon God Realm to the early stage of the Paragon God Realm? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. 10 billion. According to Big Sister, there will be more later. Breaking through to the early stage of the Paragon God Realm requires 20 billion. Breaking through to the phenomenal stage of the Paragon God Realm requires 40 billion. Breaking through to the perfected stage of the Paragon God Realm requires 60 billion. Breaking through to the perfected stage of the Paragon God Realm requires 80 billion soul stones. And breaking through to the half-step 9 heavens realm requires even more, 100 billion. The big black wolf said, So much? After hearing this, Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. In the past, divine lords only needed a few billion, but now, Paragon gods needed tens of billions. Fortunately, The laws of time in the castle had changed dramatically. Otherwise, who knew when he would be able to enter the Nine Heavens realm? After coming back to his senses, Qin Feiyang asked, "How many soul stones could you refine in a day when you were a half-step paragon god?" The big black wolf thought for a moment and said, "About 1,500. More than 1,500? Qin Feiyang was surprised. If he remembered correctly, when he was breaking through to the half-step paragon god realm, he had refined about 1,150 soul stones in a day. In other words, that was 400 more soul stones. It seemed that after breaking through to the next level, not only would the number of soul stones needed increase exponentially, but the refining speed would also be greatly improved. Wait, if the big black wolf can refine 1,500 soul stones in a day, will he be able to refine even more? Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang looked at the big black wolf and said, "Wait for me here. I'll go to the castle for a day of seclusion." A day of seclusion? The big black wolf was stunned. 100 years in a day. A day in the castle. How long is it outside? It's very fast. After saying that, Qin Feiyang entered the ancient castle. The big black wolf stood there in a daze. That's right. 100 years in a day. And there were 24 hours in a day. In other words, in less than 2 hours outside, 10 years had passed in the castle. It was only a day, less than 10 breaths of time. Sure enough, in less than 10 breaths, Qin Feiyang appeared again. "How is it?" the big black wolf asked. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "I can refine 1,650 soul stones in a day. Why is it so much more than me?" The big black wolf was stunned. In the years it had been in seclusion, it could only refine 1,550 soul stones a day. But Qin Feiyang could refine 1,650 soul stones. This difference was a whole 100 soul stones. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. This might be the relationship between talent and potential. Shameless. The big black wolf pursed its lips. Qin Feiyang chuckled and took out the image crystal. Buzz. Not long after, a shadow appeared. It was Huai, but it was still Chao Deyuan's appearance. Qin Feiyang said, "Have you had fun in the past 5 years?" "Fun?" Huai was slightly stunned and said unhappily, "Do I look like I'm playing?" Qin Feiyang said, "I don't believe that it will take so long to find out the situation of the Dragon God Palace." Huai smiled embarrassedly and said, "I really can't hide anything from you." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him and said, "Then tell me now, what do you know?" "A lot. I can't finish it in a day or two. I'll tell you what you're most concerned about. The medicinal field of the Dragon God Palace is on the 10th island, and the entire island is filled with medicinal herbs. The spirit vein and crystal vein are both in the Sea of Clouds, but there is a seal, so no one can get close. As for the number, I guarantee that you will be shocked. The number of spirit veins is as many as 10,000. The number of crystal veins is more than 20,000. Huai said. So many? Qin Feiyang was shocked. The big black wolf was also dumbfounded. More than 10,000 spirit veins, more than 20,000 crystal veins. What kind of concept was this? Calm down, calm down. What will surprise you even more is yet to come. These spirit veins and crystal veins are basically all of the divine level. There are more than 1,000 spirit veins above level 5, and even more crystal veins above level 5. More than 3,000? Huai laughed. When Qin Feiyang and the big black wolf heard this, their breathing couldn't help but become rapid. With so many spirit veins and crystal veins, it was completely enough for the Black Tortoise realm to use. And all the creatures in the Black Tortoise realm. How is it? Are you very tempted? Huai chuckled. Qin Feiyang asked, "How big is the herb field?" Huai said, "At least 2 first islands added together to compare with the 10th island." The big black wolf was stunned and asked, "The entire island is filled with herbs?" "Yes. Didn't I say it just now?" Huai said. The big black wolf said in shock, "Damn. How many herbs are there?" "So, this Dragon God Palace is a divine treasure." Huai laughed. The big black wolf looked at Qin Feiyang and roared excitedly, "Big brother, you must rob them all. Don't leave a single hair for them." "If it was that simple, I would have done it long ago." Huai shook his head. This wolf cub was still too naive. What do you mean? The big black wolf looked at Hua Yi in surprise. According to my observation, the seal of the spirit veins and crystal veins was personally placed by the dragon sovereign. And the herb field, in addition to a half-step invincible realm powerhouse guarding it, there is also a clone of Yizhong, Hua Yi said. Hearing this, the big black wolf shrank like a frosted eggplant. The seal of the dragon sovereign, a half-step invincible realm powerhouse, and Yizhong's clone. These were all existences that could not be defeated. Qin Feiyang asked, "What is Yizhong's cultivation level?" "Greater mastery, invincible realm. And according to my monitoring, he seems to have mastered a kind of law power," Hua Yi said in a deep voice. "What? The power of law?" Qin Feiyang was shocked. Hua Yi shook his head and said, "But I can't tell what kind of law power it is." "He is indeed a terrifying figure," Qin Feiyang said. "Yizhong is at the greater mastery invincible realm. Aren't the ancestral dragons and the young man who can fight him to a draw also at the greater mastery invincible realm?" The big black wolf said. "More or less." Hua Yi nodded, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "According to my speculation, the 4 emperors of the Dragon Slayer Palace should also be at the greater mastery invincible realm." "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. Back then, when the ancestor fought with the ancestral dragon of the Black Dragon clan, he did not kill him. So it was not difficult to determine that the ancestor's lineage was similar to the ancestral dragon's. But even so, the ancestor was already powerful enough. There was also Lu Zhengyang, because compared to the ancestral dragons, they were considered juniors. "Where are you now?" Qin Feiyang asked. "The law enforcement hall," Hua Yi said. "The law enforcement hall?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Hua Yi said with a smile, "I'm with Hong Yi." "Hong Yi?" Qin Feiyang frowned. Why did this name sound familiar? The big black wolf reminded, "Brother, it's Chao Yuan's friend in the law enforcement hall." "I remember now." Qin Feiyang nodded, looked at Hua Yi suspiciously and said, "Why are you with him?" "Back then, he accidentally bumped into me and called me. At first, I didn't know who he was. Later, I quietly beat around the bush and found out that he was Chao Yuan's friend, so I slowly became familiar with him," Hua Yi said. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he said with a smile, "That's good. Bring Hong Yi here. I'm lacking someone to take me out of the Dragon God Palace." "Okay." Hua Yi nodded, and the shadow dissipated. Chapter 24:53. Whoosh! About 100 breaths later, 2 figures descended in the sky above the valley. It was Hua Yi. Next to him was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He was 1.8 meters tall and skinny like a bamboo pole. This person was Hong Yi. Hong Yi glanced at the valley and turned to look at Hua Yi. He asked suspiciously, "Brother, who are you bringing me to see?" He always thought that the person standing next to him was his old friend, Chada. "You'll know when you go in." Hua Yi smiled and rushed towards the cave in the valley. Hong Yi followed behind him with a suspicious look on his face. The moment he entered the cave, his face changed when he saw Qin Feiyang and the big black wolf. The big black wolf had also turned back into a big dog. Qin Feiyang also turned back into a young man. "You guys." Li Buer. "Big black dog. Brother Chao, why are you with them?" Although he had never seen Qin Feiyang and the big black wolf with his own eyes, he had heard of the man and wolf's names. "I don't understand what you're saying. We're all people of the Dragon God Palace. Why can't we be together?" Hua Yi looked at Hong Yi suspiciously. Hong Yi was slightly taken aback. He pulled Hua Yi to the side and whispered, "Brother Chao, is there something wrong with your head? He killed the island master and is the dragon's mortal enemy," Hua Yi said. "But the dragons didn't do anything to him. This is because of the palace master. But we can all see that the palace master won't live for long. Once something happens to the palace master, the dragons will immediately attack them. Brother Chao, listen to brother's advice. Don't get too close to them in the future, lest you get burned," Hong Yi said in a deep voice. Okay. Hua Yi nodded. "Won't live for long?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked at Hong Yi and frowned. "What do you mean? The dragons are going to attack the young man? Do you still need to ask?" How can the high and mighty dragon clan tolerate a human riding on their heads and behaving atrociously? It's only a matter of time before we act against him, Hong Yi sneered. Qin Feiyang said in astonishment. In other words, this is just your personal guess? Hong Yi said coldly, although it's just a guess, it will definitely come true. If you want to live, you'd better draw a line with him in advance. How do you draw the line? Qin Feiyang looked at him, amused. Hong Yi said, showing loyalty to the dragons is the best way. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in understanding. That's all I have to say. Take care of yourselves. Chao Yuan, don't come looking for me if there's nothing important in the future. After Hong Yi finished speaking, he turned around and walked outside. Qin Feiyang hurriedly said, don't be in such a hurry to leave. I still have something I need your help with. Help? Are you kidding? Who do you think you are? Do you think you're qualified for me to help you? Hong Yi was stunned. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said contemptuously. Qin Feiyang was stunned. This person was really arrogant. This is the Dragon God Palace. It's better to keep a low profile. Hong Yi snorted from his nose, then turned around and continued to walk forward. Shua. At this moment, the big black wolf took a step forward and stood at the entrance of the cave, saying, Big brother didn't ask you to leave, and you still want to chase him away? Hong Yi stopped in his tracks, looked at the big black wolf with disdain, and asked, What, you still want to fight? The big black wolf's eyes flashed with a fierce light. Hong Yi sneered. Not to mention you who has just become a god, even if you have just reached the 9th heaven realm, I might not even put you in my eyes. Such big words? Qin Feiyang was startled and sized Hong Yi up. At this moment, a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes. This person was actually at the initial 9th heaven realm. However, when he thought of Hong Yi's identity, he understood. After all, he was the law enforcer of the Dragon God Palace. How could his cultivation be low? The big black wolf said in a deep voice, Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't be so arrogant with us. So what if I'm arrogant? As the law enforcer of the Dragon God Palace, I even have the right to kill you. Of course, I also know that you have a half-step Undying Realm expert by your side. But so what? Right now, our Dragon God Palace has Grand Hall Master Yizhong. If you dare to fight, then today will be the day you die. Get lost. Hong Yi scolded, not giving them any face at all. So it turns out that Yizhong is your trump card. Qin Feiyang suddenly realized. So what? Hong Yi sneered. Fine. Originally, I wanted to have a friendly attitude and discuss with you, or give you some benefits, but I didn't expect you to be so arrogant and speak so rudely. If that's the case, then I don't need to waste time and words with you. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, looked at the big black wolf and said, Don't show mercy later. You must let him know what it means to be low-key. Okay. The big black wolf suddenly laughed evilly. What do you want to do? Hearing Qin Feiyang's words, Hong Yi immediately frowned. Of course we'll treat you very nicely. Qin Feiyang laughed. Fire Lotus suddenly appeared and grabbed Hong Yi's shoulder. Then, Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the big black wolf, Fire Lotus, and Hong Yi instantly disappeared without a trace. What a pitiful child. Hori shook his head. I didn't want to use force, but there's no other way. In this world, there are people who bully the weak and fear the strong. Qin Feiyang also felt helpless. In less than 10 breaths, Qin Feiyang waved his hand again, and the big black wolf and Hong Yi appeared together. But now, it was completely different. The big black wolf puffed out his chest and raised his back proudly. Hong Yi was lying on the ground, dying. His body was badly mutilated, and there was no part of him that was intact. He kept howling. Enough. It's really enough. It's been a whole day. Don't torture me anymore. I'll be obedient, okay? No one knew what kind of torture he had suffered in the castle. His howls were filled with fear and despair. A whole day. Hua Yi looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. The castle changed again. Now, it's 100 years in a day. So, although it's only been a while outside, he has been tortured for a whole day inside. Qin Feiyang secretly said, No way. 100 years in a day. Even the deputy palace master of Nine Heavens Palace was dumbfounded when he heard this. This was too heaven-defying. Such a terrifying time array was unheard of. Qin Feiyang squatted on the ground and looked at Hong Yi with a smile. Will you really be obedient? Yes, yes, yes. Hong Yi nodded repeatedly. Seeing the smile on Qin Feiyang's face again, the feeling was completely different. It was as if a devil was smiling at him. Wouldn't it be better if you were like this earlier? You have to be beaten up before you'll be obedient. Get up, get up. Qin Feiyang helped Hong Yi up and took out a healing pill and handed it to him. No need, no need. I have my own. Hong Yi hurriedly waved his hand. But before he could finish his words, he was dumbfounded on the spot as he stared at the healing pill. It was actually a dragon-shaped pill chi. Divine pill. In the past few years of seclusion in the castle, Qin Feiyang would sometimes feel bored, so he refined some pills. For example, healing pills, regeneration pills, scarlet-colored glass pills, life pills, and so on. And these divine pills that he refined were basically placed in the various forbidden areas and divine treasures of the Black Tortoise world by the Fire Lotus for the creatures of the Black Tortoise world to find. This was because to the beings of the Black Tortoise world, even the most ordinary of healing divine pills was a great fortune. Not to mention a pill like the scarlet-colored glass pill that could increase one's cultivation. However, for pills like the healing pill, he also kept some on him as a backup. At this moment, he took out the deity-level healing pill that was deliberately for Hong Yi to see. For Hong Yi, he could not use the slave seal or puppet technique to control him, because once he used the slave seal, the fate contract would automatically dissolve. When the time came, Hong Yi would also be unable to leave the Dragon God Palace. Therefore, he had to make Hong Yi work for him willingly. To make someone willingly work for him, it was not enough to use forceful means. He had to take out something that shocked him and made him desire it. And this divine pill was full of great temptation. Looking at Hong Yi's expression, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile, but the expression on his face was somewhat indifferent. He said indifferently, "You don't want it? Fine." With that, he put it away. Don't. Hong Yi hurriedly grabbed Qin Feiyang's arm. Qin Feiyang said, "You said you don't need it." No. Hong Yi shook his head and stared fixedly at the healing pill, unable to move his eyes away. It was really a divine pill. This person actually had a divine pill. Isn't it just a divine pill? I can refine a bunch of them casually. What's there to be surprised about? If you want it, I'll give it to you. After Qin Feiyang said, he directly threw it to Hong Yi. Hong Yi hurriedly grabbed it in his hand, his eyes full of excitement. This was the first time in his life that he had seen a real divine pill, but immediately after, his gaze trembled. He raised his head to look at Qin Feiyang and said in surprise, "What did you just say? You can refine a bunch of them casually?" Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Hong Yi asked again, "That is to say, this medicinal pill was refined by you?" That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded again. You can actually refine a divine pill? Oh my God. You really don't show off. Hong Yi was shocked. Qin Feiyang chuckled and said, "That's why I said, I'm a low-key person." Low-key? Hong Yi chuckled. Low-key would publicly kill the island master? Low-key would kill all the people in this assessment? What's with your attitude? Haven't I beaten you up yet? Big Black Wolf glared fiercely. No. Hong Yi hurriedly waved his hand, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said with a flattering smile, Yes, you're really low-key. I've never seen anyone more low-key than you." What he said was very sincere, but no matter how one looked at it, there was a sense of helplessness in his words. Qin Feiyang was speechless and asked, "Then now, can we talk properly?" Yes. Hong Yi nodded like he was pounding garlic. That's the way. Don't worry, as long as you're obedient, you'll be rewarded. Qin Feiyang smiled. Understood. Hong Yi nodded and bowed, smiling flatteringly. Chapter 2454. Qin Feiyang laughed. Then hurry up and heal your injuries. You still have to accompany me out later. All right. Hong Yi nodded. looked down at the heal pill in his hand, and decisively kept it. What are you doing? Qin Feiyong looked at him suspiciously. I can't bear to take it. Hong Yi laughed dryly. Qin Feiyong laughed involuntarily and said, It doesn't matter. When we come back from outside, I'll send a few more. Good, good, good. Hearing this, Hong Yi was overjoyed and immediately stuffed the heal pill into his mouth. His injuries immediately began to heal. The effect of the divine pill is indeed different. Hong Yi looked at the wound and muttered to himself, his eyes filled with greed. This person is a bit greedy. Hua Yi sent a sound transmission. It doesn't matter. Greedy people are easier to buy. Qin Feiyong laughed secretly. Not long later, the injuries on Hong Yi's body healed, and he was full of energy again. Qin Feiyong asked, Do you have a spatial divine object? Yes, but its level isn't high. It can only accommodate a dozen people at most. Hong Yi nodded. That's enough. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, Send us to your spatial divine object, and then leave the Dragon God Palace. Why is that? Hong Yi was suspicious. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. The big black wolf shouted. I'm sorry. Hong Yi's pupils constricted as he hurriedly apologized, and then immediately sent Qin Feiyong, Hua Yi, and the big black wolf to the spatial divine object. Next, Hong Yi opened a teleportation altar and descended into the sky above the plaza. But Yizhong was not in the plaza at this moment. Hong Yi did not stay and walked straight towards the stone door. But suddenly, he stopped and looked up at the sky. Hasn't a day already passed? Why don't I feel any changes outside? What's going on? He didn't know that only a short while had passed outside. It's really strange. Hong Yi muttered to himself, stepped out of the stone door, and rushed down the stone stairs like lightning. Greetings, my lord. When the disciples passing by saw Hong Yi, they immediately bowed and greeted him. The law enforcers of any place were existences that struck fear in people's hearts. This was because they held the power to kill the disciples below them. However, Hong Yi didn't pay attention to anyone. He rapidly flew to the top of a mountain peak and dragged Qin Feiyong, Nie Tian, and the big black wolf out of his spatial divine item. Qin Feiyong looked around, then looked at the dragon god's palace and smiled at Hong Yi. Well done. It's nothing. Hong Yi smiled flatteringly. Qin Feiyong then looked at Hua Yi and said with a smile, Accompany him for a walk nearby. All right. Hua Yi nodded, looked at Hong Yi, and said with a smile, Brother, let's go. All right. Hong Yi nodded and followed behind Hua Yi, flying down towards the mountains below. When they left Qin Feiyong's line of sight, Hong Yi immediately grabbed Hua Yi and angrily said, Surname Chao, what is the meaning of this? Why are you trying to harm me? Brother, I don't understand what you're saying. How am I harming you? Hua Yi looked at him, puzzled. Still quibbling? Do you dare to say that you're not deliberately dragging me down? Do you know what the consequences will be if others find out that I'm colluding with Li Buer? Hong Yi said angrily, Don't be nervous, don't be nervous. Only you and I know about this matter. There won't be a third party. We'll talk about it later. Don't you want to get more divine pills? Hua Yi smiled. Hong Yi's expression stiffened, and then greed reappeared in his eyes. Brother, I brought you to see him because I treat you as a brother. We'll share blessings together. As for other things, you can't think about it. No one knows that we're on good terms with Li Buer now, and no one will know in the future. Even if Li Buer suffers the revenge of the dragons in the future, we can completely disassociate ourselves from him. Hua Yi said. Makes sense. The dragons definitely won't believe what Li Buer said. Hong Yi nodded. So, now that there's an opportunity, we have to take advantage of it. Although we have to be humble in front of him, it's worth it for the sake of divine pills. Are you still blaming me now? Hua Yi said unhappily. Good brother, don't be like this. I'll apologize to you. This time, it was Hong Yi who felt guilty and blamed himself. At the peak of the mountain, Big Black Wolf said suspiciously, Big brother, why did you deliberately send Hong Yi away? It's better not to let him know about our identity and plan. Otherwise, Chao Daiyuan's betrayal might happen again. Qin Feiyong said. Understood. Big Black Wolf nodded. Qin Feiyong's identity was too important. Once Hong Yi knew about it, there might be changes. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan appeared. Young master. The two bowed. Qin Feiyang said, remember, although the mission is important, your life is more important. Thank you for your concern, young master. We won't let you down. The two were extremely touched. This was obviously telling them to give up the mission in the face of danger and save their lives. Okay, you can go now. I'll send a message to Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunchang later and ask them to help you. Qin Feiyang said. Yes. The two nodded respectfully and then took out a teleportation altar. Big Black Wolf suddenly said, wait a moment. The two were stunned and turned to look at Big Black Wolf suspiciously. Qin Feiyang also looked at it in confusion. Big Black Wolf looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Big brother, I suddenly thought of a problem. Old Li and Old Wang don't have any control-type divine arts. Even if they successfully complete the mission, these people won't be under your control, right? That's right, young master. Didn't you say that even the people of the Dragon Slayer Temple have to be under your control? Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan also said. Qin Feiyang frowned. If not for Big Black Wolf's reminder, he would have overlooked this point. Young master, why don't we go to the treasure pavilion and see if there are any control-type divine arts? Wang Daoyuan said. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and looked at the two. Can we create something like the Divine Stone of Fate like Longzun? This way, you can use the enslavement seal to control them. Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan looked at each other and shook their heads with a wry smile. We don't have that ability. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and said, how about this? After you complete the mission, bring everyone here. I'll control them all at once. Okay. The two nodded. Big Black Wolf said, Big brother, they also need something. What? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. A token. Those who can enter the Dragon Slayer Temple must be very cautious. Although Old Li and Old Wang are your subordinates, they don't know. So, they need a token that can prove their identities, Big Black Wolf said. It's really troublesome. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead. Big Black Wolf shook his head and said, this kind of thing is troublesome. How about this? You two take this. Qin Feiyang took out the twin dragon pendant and handed it to Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan. Li Changhe took it and asked, is this okay? Since Jiang Dafei and Fan Yunzhang know about the existence of the twin dragon pendant, the others should also know. Qin Feiyang said, okay. Li Changhe carefully put it away and asked, then we'll set off? Take out your image crystal and establish a contract bridge. Qin Feiyang said. The two nodded and took out the image crystal. After establishing the contract bridge, Qin Feiyang said a few words, and the two opened the altar and quickly left. After watching the two leave, Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and took out the image crystal. Buzz. Soon, an old man's shadow appeared. It was Fan Yunzhang. He had not established a contract bridge with Jiang Dafei yet, so he could only contact Fan Yunzhang. Young lord? Fan Yunzhang was stunned and hurriedly bowed. Is it convenient to talk? Qin Feiyang asked. Yes. Fan Yunzhang nodded. Qin Feiyang said, I have asked Li Changhe and Wang Daoyuan to replace me to carry out the task of replacing the city lord. You and Jiang Dafei have to help them unconditionally. Replace you? Fan Yunzhang was stunned. Otherwise? Do you really want me to do it personally? Qin Feiyang said angrily. Fan Yunzhang hurriedly waved his hand and said with a smile, No, no. As long as they are following your orders. Qin Feiyang's expression eased a lot. Fan Yunzhang asked, Young lord, you are out of seclusion, right? Qin Feiyang said, What do you want to say? Fan Yunzhang said with a wry smile, It's still a matter of one old and one young. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, You haven't found out their identity? No, but I heard that they were caught by Yizhong a few days ago. Fan Yunzhang said. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, Since they were caught, what does it have to do with me? You don't know, but in the past few years, the old and the young have ransacked all the cities in the north. Even Black Rock City was not spared. What the Divine General means is that they may be a match for the dragons because they have ransacked the city lord mansions of the major cities so unscrupulously. Since they are a match for the dragons, They are friends of the dragon-slaying temple, so the divine general hopes that you can find a way to rescue them from Yizhong. Fan Yunzhang said, I'll rescue them? Qin Feiyang began to feel angry when he heard this. He said angrily, whether it is strength or other aspects, he is stronger than me. Why doesn't he go? The divine general has his difficulties too. After all, the dragons know him and know his methods like the back of their hand, so no matter how he hides, he will be easily recognized by the dragons. Fan Yunzhang laughed. Won't I be recognized by the dragons? The kill formula, the battle formula, the axe formula, which dragons don't know? Qin Feiyang shouted. Anyway, you are alone. What does it matter if they find you? Besides, with your ability, even if you are discovered, you can escape. As soon as Fan Yunzhang finished speaking, he noticed that Qin Feiyang's eyes were not right. He hurriedly said, Young master, don't misunderstand. These words were not said by me, but by the divine general. Tell me, where is the divine general hiding now? Qin Feiyang's face was as dark as water. After all, he was alone? Was he being used as cannon fodder? What are you going to do? Fan Yunzhang realized that something was wrong and asked cautiously, I'm going to kill him. Qin Feiyang shouted. He was seething with anger. Fan Yunzhang's body trembled, and he couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He knew that he would anger the young master. It was all his fault. Why didn't he keep watch? How could he say these words? Chapter 24:55. Big Brother. Don't be angry, it's not worth it, Big Black Wolf advised. Yes, it's not worth it. Fan Yunzhang also nodded repeatedly. Qin Feiyang exhaled and looked at Fan Yunzhang. Where are the old man and the young man locked up now? I'm not sure. Fan Yunzhang shook his head. Qin Feiyang frowned. I don't even know where they are locked up. How do you want me to make a move? Cough, cough. That, young lord, this subordinate suddenly remembered that there is a very urgent matter to deal with. If you have anything you want to know, just ask Zhang Dafei. He knows more than this subordinate. Yes. Then that's all for now. Let's talk again when there's time. After Fan Yunzhang finished speaking, the shadow dissipated. Qin Feiyang's face twitched. This old man, Big Black Wolf, shook his head speechlessly. Even an idiot could see that what urgent matter was just an excuse. Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal and said, Let Hua Yi and Hong Yi come over. Chao Da Yuan, Hong Yi. Big Black Wolf roared. Whoosh. Soon, accompanied by two sounds of breaking through the air, Hua Yi and Hong Yi landed opposite Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at Hong Yi and asked, When you came out just now, did you see Yizhong in the square? No. Hong Yi shook his head. No? Qin Feiyang frowned. Hua Yi said, During this period of time, Yizhong often left the Dragon God Palace. Often? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. Was it to catch the old man and the young man? Qin Feiyang asked, Then did he bring anyone into the Dragon God Palace these few days? I didn't pay attention. Hori shook his head. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and looked at Hori and Hong Yi. How about this? You two go back to the Dragon God Palace now and investigate this matter. Is this important? Hong Yi looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Don't ask. Just do as I say. Qin Feiyang took out another divine-grade healing pill. Okay. Hong Yi received the pill with a fawning smile. Qin Feiyang glanced at Hong Yi and transmitted his voice to Hua Yi. Watch him carefully. If there's any abnormality, silence him immediately. It's a piece of cake. Hua Yi secretly smiled and brought Hong Yi back to the Dragon God Palace. Big brother, where are we going? Big Black Wolf looked at Hong Yi and Hua Yi's backs and asked, I'll make a trip to the Holy Dragon City's City Lord's mansion. You stay in the castle for now. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He consumed an illusory form pill and turned into a middle-aged man. He then sent the Big Black Wolf to the ancient castle and opened an altar. City Lord's mansion. Back of the mountain, there were quite a few medicinal herbs in the looted medicinal field. Moreover, there were many more spirit veins and crystal veins under the herb field. After all, Holy Dragon City was one of the largest cities in the north. With the strength of the City Lord's mansion, it was a very simple matter to collect medicinal herbs, crystal veins, and spirit veins. Swish! A middle-aged man suddenly descended above the herb field. It was Qin Feiyang. Looking at the herb field, Qin Feiyang was not tempted. He immediately activated the concealment technique and flew towards the entrance of the back of the mountain. Not long after, he left the back of the mountain. Just outside the entrance of the back of the mountain, there was a small courtyard. That should be the place where the dragon's emissaries live. And now, Holy Dragon City is overseen by the Dragon God Palace Master. That should be his residence now. Qin Feiyang looked at the small courtyard from afar. But the strange thing was, why didn't he sense the aura of the Dragon God Palace Master? Qin Feiyang furrowed his brows and quietly walked to the front of the courtyard's gate. In the courtyard, there was a two-story pavilion. The gate of the courtyard was closed, and the doors and windows of the pavilion were also closed. What's the situation? Why is the door closed in the middle of the day? Is he not at home? Qin Feiyang muttered, carefully sneaked into the courtyard, and walked towards the pavilion. However, before he got close to the door of the pavilion, he seemed to have touched something soft. The next moment, a divine power boundary appeared in the void. The barrier enveloped the entire pavilion. There's a barrier. Qin Feiyang was shocked, and as expected, he turned around and tore through the air like lightning. It was also at this moment. The door of the pavilion opened with a bang. A middle-aged man walked out. Qin Feiyang looked back. Wasn't the middle-aged man the palace master of the Dragon God Palace? Wait. Suddenly, his gaze passed by the palace master of the Dragon God Palace and swept towards the hall of the pavilion. The palace master of the Dragon God Palace opened the door, and now he could naturally see the hall inside. He discovered, in the hall, there were still 3 people sitting. One of them was Yi Zhong. Yi Zhong was sitting beside the tea table, and at this moment, his sharp gaze was also scanning the outside through the door. And the 2 people sitting opposite of Yi Zhong were one old and one young. The 2 of them were wearing masks, so their faces could not be seen clearly. Could it be them? Qin Feiyang whispered. Swish! Yi Zhong also suddenly got up, walked to the side of the palace master of the Dragon God Palace and frowned. Who touched the barrier? I didn't see anyone. The palace master of the Dragon God Palace shook his head. Yi Zhong's face suddenly had a trace of anger and shouted, Idiot! Don't you know how to use your spirit sense? The palace master of the Dragon God Palace quickly nodded and released his spirit sense, which like a tide, surged out in all directions. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed slightly, and he did not escape anymore. Hiding behind a big tree, he looked at the old and the young in the hall from afar. Gradually, a trace of suspicion crept into his eyes. A moment later, the palace master of the Dragon God Palace turned to look at Yi Zhong and said, Apart from some small animals nearby, I didn't find anything. I guess it was these small animals that accidentally broke in and touched the barrier. Small animals? Yi Zhong frowned and also released his spirit sense. Near the courtyard, there were indeed many small animals, such as squirrels, white mice, and so on. Then let's go in. Yi Zhong withdrew his spirit sense, turned around, and entered the hall. The palace master of the Dragon God Palace also withdrew his spirit sense and quickly followed. The door closed again. The divine power barrier was also hidden in the void. Why do I have such a feeling? Qin Feiyang stared at the closed door, the doubt in his eyes growing stronger. The old and the young gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Also, since the old and the young were prisoners, why were they on the same level as Yi Zhong? Moreover, there was not even the slightest injury on the 2 of them. That's not right. How is this what a prisoner should look like? Asked Zhang Dafei. After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyang turned around and quickly disappeared. About an hour later, he finally found Zhang Dafei in one of the grand halls. Outside the hall, there were several guards on guard, but the door was not closed. Qin Feiyang walked in openly and saw Zhang Dafei sitting on the throne with his head lowered, as if thinking about something. What are you thinking about? Suddenly, a voice entered Zhang Dafei's ears. Zhang Dafei immediately looked up and scanned the hall, his eyes full of surprise. Why did the young lord's voice suddenly appear? Close the door. The voice sounded again. That's right. It's the young lord. Zhang Dafei suddenly stood up, waved his hand, and the door quickly closed. Qin Feiyong also appeared in the center of the hall. Zhang Dafei hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. Greetings, young lord. Please take a seat. No need. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and looked at the decorations in the hall. Young lord, why are you here? It's very dangerous here. It won't be good if someone finds out. Zhang Dafei said. Qin Feiyong's expression was cold and said, If I didn't come, I wouldn't have found out that you were lying to me. Lying to you? Zhang Dafei was stunned and said anxiously, Young lord, why do you say that? Still pretending? Why didn't you tell Yi Zhong and the old man and the young man are in the city lord's mansion? Qin Feiyong said angrily. They are in the city lord's mansion? Zhang Dafei was stunned and shook his head. I don't know. You don't know? Qin Feiyong frowned. Yes, I didn't get the news at all. Zhang Dafei said. Qin Feiyong lowered his head and muttered. Zhang Dafei actually didn't know? Could it be that Yi Zhong found out Zhang Dafei's identity, so he deliberately hid it from him? Then do the others know? Qin Feiyong asked. They definitely don't know, because many of the people in the city lord's mansion are my confidants. If one of them knows, they will immediately tell me. Zhang Dafei said. That is to say, they are hiding it from everyone. Qin Feiyong whispered, Young lord, how did you know that Yi Zhong and the old man and the young man are in the city lord's mansion? Zhang Dafei looked at Qin Feiyong in confusion. Qin Feiyong said, I saw it in the courtyard where the Dragon God Palace Lord lives. Zhang Dafei said, I will confirm it. After saying that, he was ready to walk outside. Stop. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Zhang Dafei turned and looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. If you run over now, won't you let them know that someone tipped you off? Since they don't want others to know about this matter, then you'd better not ask around, lest you be killed by them, Qin Feiyong said. Zhang Dafei's eyes trembled slightly when he heard this, and he hurriedly said respectfully, I was foolish. Qin Feiyong walked to a chair at the side and sat on it, lost in thought. Zhang Dafei stood aside, not daring to disturb him. After a long time, Qin Feiyong shook his head and sighed. It seems that this matter is not so simple. What do you mean, young lord? Zhang Dafei was suspicious. Qin Feiyong said, Answer me first, as a prisoner, what treatment will he receive? He will definitely be crippled of his cultivation and be strictly disciplined. If necessary, he will be killed directly. Zhang Dafei said without hesitation, But just now, I found that the old man and the young man are actually on the same level as Yi Zhong, and there is not a single wound on their bodies. What does this mean? Qin Feiyong asked again. What? No wound? On the same level? Zhang Dafei was shocked. Qin Feiyong nodded. Zhang Dafei pondered for a moment before he said in a deep voice, I'm afraid this matter is not as simple as it seems. Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and waved his hand. Let's not talk about this for now. Let's talk about you. It's been 5 years, and you still haven't become the city lord of the Holy Dragon City? I'm incompetent. Zhang Dafei's eyelids jumped as he immediately bowed. What's the reason? Qin Feiyong frowned. Cultivation. I've talked to the leader of the Dragon God Palace more than once, but no matter how loyal and sincere I was, he only said that the city lord of the Holy Dragon City must have a cultivation of the greater perfection stage of the 9 heavens realm. Zhang Dafei said helplessly. Chapter 2456. Then how long will it take for you to break through to the 9th heaven realm? Qin Feiyong asked. Although you have given me enough soul stones, it will probably take me more than 10,000 years to break through to the 9th heaven realm. Zhang Dafei said. Do you have a specific number? Qin Feiyong frowned. Zhang Dafei thought for a while and said, According to my current speed of refining soul stones, it should take me about 12,000 years. 12,000 years. Qin Feiyong pondered in silence. According to the castle's time rules, 1 day was 100 years, 10 days was 1,000 years, and 10 days was 10,000 years. In other words, 12,000 years was more than 120 days. Thinking of this, Qin Feiyong looked up at Zhang Dafei and said, How about this? You find a chance to leave the city lord's mansion first. Why? Zhang Dafei was suspicious. Go to my castle and cultivate in seclusion. The castle's time rules are 100 years a day. In only 4 months, you will be able to break through to the 9th heaven realm. Qin Feiyang said. 100 years a day? Zhang Dafei was stunned and hurriedly said, I seem to remember Fan Yunzhang saying that the castle's time rules are 10 years a day? That was before. After I broke through to the half-step god realm, the castle changed again. Now it's 100 years a day. Qin Feiyang laughed. Half-step god realm? Zhang Dafei was stunned for a moment, and only then did he notice Qin Feiyang's cultivation. He was indeed already a half-step god realm. This was too fast. Plop. After coming back to his senses, Zhang Dafei knelt on the ground and said gratefully, Thank you, young lord. 100 years a day. In other words, entering the castle to cultivate would save him more than 10,000 years. This was simply a great fortune. Qin Feiyang said, I've said it before, when you're with me, don't kneel down so easily. I don't like this. Yes, yes, yes. Zhang Dafei nodded repeatedly, then quickly got up and asked, Then what excuse should I find? Do you still need to ask me about such a simple matter? Just tell the Dragon God Palace Master that you're going into seclusion to cultivate. Do you think he won't let you go? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Zhang Dafei scratched his head and smiled sheepishly. I was just too excited for a moment. My mind is a little muddled. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Boom. At this moment, a terrifying aura descended outside the main hall. It's the Dragon God Palace Master. Zhang Dafei's expression immediately changed, and he transmitted his voice. Young lord, please step back. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, then stood up and entered the castle. Bang! Just as Qin Feiyang left, the hall's doors were blasted open by the Dragon God Hall Master. Greetings, my lord. Zhang Dafei hurriedly ran over and bowed. The Dragon God Hall Master walked into the main hall and frowned. Why are you closing the door in broad daylight? My lord, that old man and young man have looted the city lord's mansions of the major cities. It has already caused a great impact on us dragons. This subordinate was thinking about how to eliminate these negative effects. That's why I closed the door and didn't want to be disturbed. Zhang Dafei said, I see. Hearing this, the Dragon God Hall Master's expression eased a lot. I have seen your loyalty, but your cultivation is not enough. Otherwise, I would definitely let you be the city lord of the Holy Dragon City. Thank you for your appreciation, my lord. Actually, this lowly one is about to break through. As long as my lord can give this lowly one a little more time. Zhang Dafei said. The Dragon God Hall Master was stunned and asked, How long will it take? Zhang Dafei said, At most a year. All right then, it's only a year. It'll pass in the blink of an eye. I'll give you a year. But if you still haven't broken through after a year, I can only choose someone else, the Dragon God Hall Master said. Zhang Dafei was wild with joy. He bowed and said, Thank you, my lord. Then this lowly one will go into seclusion. Go now? Aren't you too impatient? The Dragon God Hall Master shook his head helplessly and said, There's no hurry to go into seclusion. I have a task for you to complete. My lord, please speak. Zhang Dafei was stunned and said respectfully, Go and spread a message. Tomorrow at noon, the city lord's mansion will behead that old man and young man on the plains outside the Dragon God Mountain range, the Dragon God Hall Master said. Zhang Dafei was stunned and nodded with a smile. That's a good idea. Beheading them in public will definitely have the effect of killing 1 to warn 100. That's right. The Dragon God Hall Master nodded. Zhang Dafei said suspiciously, My lord, may I ask where that old man and young man are now? The Dragon God Hall Master's eyes immediately turned cold. If you follow me, you must first know one thing. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. This lowly one knows his mistake. Please forgive me, my lord. Zhang Dafei's expression changed, and he hurriedly lowered his head. All right, go and arrange it. After the Dragon God Hall Master finished speaking, he walked out. Farewell, my lord. Zhang Dafei bowed and said. After sending off the Dragon God Hall Master, Zhang Dafei lowered his head and pondered for a while. Then, he called in a few guards guarding outside the door, gave them a few instructions, and let them leave. Whoosh! After the guards left, Qin Feiyang appeared beside Zhang Dafei. Zhang Dafei hurriedly closed the door and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. He said in a low voice, "Young lord, what do you think of this matter?" "I don't know." Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, "But I'm thinking that beheading in public is really just to warn 100. Young lord, do you mean that they have other motives?" Zhang Dafei was surprised. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said, "First, tell me in detail what that old man and young man have done in the past 5 years." "Okay, it's like this," Zhang Dafei slowly narrated. Hearing a certain part, Qin Feiyang suddenly stretched out his hand and said, "Wait a minute. They only looted the city lord's mansion's treasury?" "Yes." Zhang Dafei nodded. "What about the herb fields? Crystal veins? Spirit veins?" Qin Feiyang asked. "No." Zhang Dafei shook his head and asked suspiciously, "Is there a problem?" Qin Feiyang said, "Then don't you think that there is indeed a problem? This subordinate is slow-witted and can't see any problem." Zhang Dafei said. Qin Feiyang said, "Then in your opinion, why didn't they loot the herb fields, crystal veins, and spirit veins?" "Because the herb fields are usually protected by barriers, and the herb fields are usually very hidden, and it takes time to find them, and it's also possible that they are only interested in the treasures in the treasury." Zhang Dafei said, "So that's what you think?" "Not only you. I believe that many people think so too. Of course, this is also pardonable. After all, such a big thing happened." They were all shocked and naturally ignored the herb fields. But the herb fields are exactly the main point. Since they looted the treasury, why didn't they also loot the herb fields, crystal veins, and spirit veins? Don't they have the ability? Can a mere barrier stop them? As for the concealment you mentioned, it's even less of a problem, because the treasury is also very hidden. They can even find the treasury. How can they not find the herb fields? Qin Feiyang said. That makes sense. Zhang Dafei was stunned and nodded, saying, "Then what do you think?" They only looted the treasury, but ignored the more valuable herb fields, crystal veins, and spirit veins. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, then his eyes suddenly flashed and said, "This may be a trap, or even a show directed by the dragons." "What?" Zhang Dafei was shocked. If the old man and the young man really have a grudge against the dragons, they will definitely kill them. Like me. Whether it's the City Lord's mansion in Black Rock City or your City Lord's mansion in Holy Dragon City, nothing is left. Also, why didn't the dragons appear when the old man and the young man ran amok in the north for 5 years? Qin Feiyang sneered. Yes, the dragons immediately gave the order to hunt them down. Zhang Dafei said. Yes, but what does the order mean? Did the dragons send anyone? Not to mention the revered dragon. Such a big matter should have alarmed a few ancestral dragons. But who has come in the past 5 years? No one came and they gave the order. Is this reasonable? Qin Feiyang said. Zhang Dafei thought for a moment and nodded, saying, "After hearing what you said, it does seem unreasonable." Speaking of this, Zhang Dafei frowned and said, "But now, isn't Yizhong overseeing the north? There's no need for the revered dragon and the other ancestral dragons to come in person. Yizhong is a human after all. Moreover, the old man and the young man were only caught a few days ago. In other words, Yizhong has been somewhat helpless in the past 5 years. Look at the dragons. They have always thought highly of themselves and can't tolerate anyone having the slightest disobedience in front of them. Do you think that with their character, they will tolerate 2 humans jumping around happily for so long?" Qin Feiyang said. That makes sense. Zhang Dafei nodded and said in a deep voice, "It seems that this should be a self-directed show, but what is their purpose?" "I don't know, but there must be a conspiracy." Qin Feiyang frowned. Suddenly, his gaze trembled as he thought of the mission that Fan Yunzhang mentioned. Looking at Qin Feiyang's abnormality, Zhang Dafei hurriedly said, "Young lord, did you think of something? Did the divine general give me another mission?" Qin Feiyang said, "It seems that Fan Yunzhang has already told you." "That's right. The upper echelons of the Dragon Slayer Palace are now suspecting that the old man and the young man may be a match for the dragons. So they asked us to tell you to think of a way to save them. Zhang Dafei nodded. Could the dragon's purpose be to lure the Dragon Slayer Palace to take action? Qin Feiyang asked. Zhang Dafei was shocked. Well, there's really such a possibility. Looting the treasury wantonly, openly going against the dragons. The old man and the young man may be trying to mislead the Dragon Slayer Palace into thinking that they are the dragon's mortal enemies. And previously, the palace master of the Dragon God Palace even asked me to deliberately spread the news. At this point, Zhang Dafei's expression changed drastically. He looked at Qin Feiyang and growled, "Young lord, the old man and the young man are 100% bait because the people of the Dragon Slayer Palace have always been elusive. The dragons can't find us, so they thought of this method to lure the snake out of its hole." Chapter 2457. The dragons are playing a big game of chess. Qin Feiyang shook his head. To be honest, even he couldn't help but shudder when he figured out the truth. If this plan really succeeded, the consequences would be unimaginable. No matter how smart they are. So what? You still saw through them. Zhang Dafei laughed. At this moment, he had an unprecedented admiration for Qin Feiyang's brain. After living for so many years, it was the first time he had seen such a smart young man. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "We can't be too arbitrary. After all, this is just our speculation. But it's undeniable that there must be a conspiracy. I have to report this to the Divine General immediately." After Zhang Dafei finished speaking, he took out the image crystal, but suddenly glanced at Qin Feiyang, looking a little embarrassed. "What are you waiting for? Quickly send him a message," Qin Feiyang said. How could he not know what Zhang Dafei was thinking? This was to make him avoid it. Avoid it? How could that be? He had long wanted to see who this divine general was. Zhang Dafei smiled helplessly and activated the image crystal. Buzz. Soon, a shadow appeared. It was a man in black armor, wearing a mask on his face, looking extremely mysterious. "It's really you." Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. That's right. This was the man in black armor who helped him at the seaside back then. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was also there, the man in black armor was stunned for a moment, and then said, "Young lord, it's been a few years. How have you been?" Qin Feiyang said, "Thanks to you, I'm very busy now." The man in black armor smiled and said, "I'm just following orders. If you have any grievances, don't look for me." "You're so strong. Would I dare to look for you?" Qin Feiyang said. The man in black armor waved his hand and said, "No, no, no. I'm really afraid that you'll come and kill me." Not long ago, after Fan Yuncheng slipped away, he immediately sent a message to the Divine General, so the Divine General knew what Qin Feiyang said at that time. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Zhang Dafei glanced at Qin Feiyang, then looked at the black-armored man and said, "Sir, I originally wanted the young lord to leave, but he— No need to explain, I understand." The black-armored man shook his head. Zhang Dafei smiled bitterly. It seemed that the young lord's temper made the Divine General feel very helpless. The black-armored man asked, "Why are you looking for me?" "Yes." Zhang Dafei's expression immediately became extremely solemn as he recounted in detail what Qin Feiyang had come up with. "What? It's a conspiracy." When the black-armored man heard this, his scalp went numb. "You don't even understand the situation, and you want me to save them? Aren't you sending me to my death?" Qin Feiyang said. The black-armored man quickly apologized. "Sorry, this is our negligence. I can't help but start to doubt the abilities of your Dragon Slayer Palace. Even after 5 years, we still haven't found a single clue." Qin Feiyang said. Yes, yes, yes. It's our fault, our fault. However, this matter hasn't been confirmed yet. I think we should observe for a while more." The black-armored man said. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "That's your business. It has nothing to do with me." "Young lord, you can't say that. You are now the young lord of our Dragon Slayer Palace. Your status is higher than mine. If you don't care about this matter, who will?" The black-armored man laughed. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he asked, "Are you sure my status is higher than yours?" "Of course. This is publicly acknowledged." The black armored man nodded. Qin Feiyong said, in other words, you have to listen to what I say? I have to. This is the rule. The black armored man said. Qin Feiyong turned to look at Zhang Dafei and said, you heard it too, right? Yes. Zhang Dafei nodded. He didn't quite understand. What was the young lord playing at? Qin Feiyong looked at the black armored man again and said with a smile, then give me the list. The list? The black armored man was slightly stunned and asked doubtfully, what list? I heard from Fan Yunzhang that there are people from our Dragon Slayer Palace lurking in all the cities in the north. What I want is their list. Qin Feiyong said. The black armored man hurriedly said, that won't do. This is confidential. If you don't give me the list, how can I find them? Guess one by one? Check one by one? How much time will I have to spend? How much energy will I have? Qin Feiyong said. Young lord, I really can't. To be honest, this mission is actually a test for you. It's also an experience. So, you have to rely on your own ability to complete it. Only by completing this mission can you become the real young lord. And now, it's just an empty title. The black armored man said. Qin Feiyong said, don't talk to me about this. I'm just asking you. Will you give me the list? He was not interested in the so-called test, experience, or young lord at all. If it were not for the sake of the mermaid princess and Qin Rushuang, he would not have accepted this mission at all. It was purely a waste of time. I can't give it to you. The black armored man shook his head. So, you're saying that you have to listen to me no matter what? You're just bluffing me? Qin Feiyong frowned. The black armored man's expression stiffened. He had unknowingly fallen into a trap. Zhang Dafei is a witness. If you go back on your words now, as a divine general, you will probably be ridiculed in the Dragon Slayer Palace in the future. Qin Feiyong looked at him mockingly. Zhang Dafei could not help but smile bitterly. This young lord's methods were not something that ordinary people could compare to. If they were not careful, they would fall into his trap. The black armored man's heart was also bitter. How could there be such a difficult young man? He was simply an old fox. Phew. The black armored man took a deep breath and shook his head firmly. Even if I'm ridiculed, I can't give it to you. Hearing this, Qin Feiyong could not help but feel annoyed. He nodded and said, fine, if you don't give it to me, I won't care. Whoever wants to be the young lord can be the young lord. Young lord, this order was given by the higher-ups. Why are you making things difficult for me? The black armored man was about to cry. Am I making things difficult for you? You said it yourself that you would listen to everything I say. If I forced you to say that, I have nothing to say if you don't give it to me now. But I didn't force you. As a man, what you say is a promise. You have to be responsible. Unless you admit that you're a hypocrite who doesn't mean what you say. Qin Feiyong said lightly. The black armored man was extremely helpless. Why did he feel that no matter what he said, Qin Feiyong was always right? Hurry up. Don't waste my time. I still have to think about how to solve this conspiracy of the dragons. Qin Feiyong said. The black armored man was hesitant. Zhang Dafei looked at the black armored man and said, Sir, why don't you give the list to the young lord? Zhang Dafei, how can you mess around with this? The black armored man said angrily, Sir, only the three of us know about this. As long as we don't say anything, who will know that you gave the list to the young lord? Of course. If you don't give it to me, I won't dare to have any objections. It's just that the reputation of being a hypocrite doesn't seem to be that good, Zhang Dafei said. The black armored man's mouth twitched. He spoke up for Qin Feiyong so quickly. It seemed that Qin Feiyong was really good at buying people's hearts. After looking at Zhang Dafei, the black armored man looked at Qin Feiyong and said helplessly, Fine, I'll give it to you, but you must keep it a secret. Are you that scared? It's not a big deal even if the higher-ups know about this, right? Qin Feiyong frowned. If only Emperor Qin and Emperor Yang know about it, it's not a big deal. But there are two other sovereigns in the dragon-slaying palace. In short, the situation in the dragon-slaying palace is not as good as you think. The black armored man sighed. Okay, I see. Don't worry. I'll destroy this list after reading it. Qin Feiyong said. That's for the best. In 2 days, I'll give the list to Jiang Dafei. You can ask him for it then. The black armored man said. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. The black armored man asked, then tomorrow. I'll go to the plains tomorrow to check on the situation. If I need you to do anything, I'll let Jiang Dafei inform you. Qin Feiyang said. Okay then. Be careful. The black armored man reminded him, and the shadow dissipated. Jiang Dafei withdrew his gaze and turned to Qin Feiyang. He said with a smile, Young master, you're really amazing. It's the first time I've seen the immortal general suffer. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Now, he could finally vent his anger. However, the situation in the dragon-slaying palace worried him a little. The black armored man's meaning was obvious. The 4 sovereigns in the dragon-slaying palace were divided into 2 factions. On one side were the 2 ancestors, and on the other side were the other 2 sovereigns. In fact, it was normal for a force to have factions. But the dragon-slaying palace was different. The goal of the dragon-slaying palace was to destroy the dragons. And the strength of the dragons was obvious to all. If the dragon-slaying palace was not united, how could they destroy them? It was simply a fool's dream. He didn't know what these people were thinking. Even if they wanted to have internal strife, they should wait until the dragons were destroyed. Okay, I'll go first. Qin Feiyang shook his head and looked at Jiang Dafei. Where are you going? Jiang Dafei was stunned and hurriedly asked. The plains. Qin Feiyang said. Jiang Dafei said suspiciously, Isn't it starting at noon tomorrow? If you go there early, you might have unexpected gains. Qin Feiyang smiled and took out the image crystal. After establishing a contract with Jiang Dafei, he opened an altar and soon disappeared. This young master is really unpredictable. Jiang Dafei shook his head. The people under the city lord mansion were also very efficient. Not long after, the news of the beheading spread in the Holy Dragon City. Then, like a storm, it spread to other cities. In the sky above the plains, whoosh, an old man appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang. At this time, the plains were very quiet. There was no one. The Dragon God mountain range was also dead silent. Because whether it was the plains or the Dragon God mountain range, they were all the territory of the Dragon God Palace. Without the permission of the Dragon God Palace, not to mention people, even ferocious beasts would not dare to approach. Will there be an unexpected surprise? I'm really looking forward to it. Qin Feiyang glanced around. The corners of his mouth pursed into a smile, then he disappeared without a trace. Chapter 2458. Whoosh! In the middle of the night, 4 figures suddenly appeared in the sky above the plain. A burly man who looked like a giant. An old man who was covered in a black robe. The other 2 were about 1.8 meters tall. He had a handsome face and a tall and straight figure. One had blonde hair, and the other had silver hair. The aura they exuded was unfathomable. The burly man glanced around and looked at the black-robed old man and the other 2. We can't afford to fail this time. The 3 of them nodded. Whoosh! Immediately after, the 4 of them turned into streams of light and scattered in all directions. They then disappeared into the ground and occupied the north, south, east, and west directions. Indeed, this trip was not in vain. In the ancient castle, Qin Feiyang had a trace of a smile at the corner of his mouth. He had been monitoring the situation outside. Therefore, he had seen the burly man and the other 3. These 4 could be considered his old friends. They were Ancestral Dragon Black Dragon, Fire Dragon Ancestral Dragon, Golden Dragon Ancestral Dragon, and Silver Dragon Ancestral Dragon. They had mobilized 4 ancestral dragons and even ambushed here in advance. It seemed that this was really a conspiracy. The appearance of the 4 ancestral dragons meant that their physical bodies had been reconstructed. However, the 4 ancestral dragons wanted to besiege the Dragon Slayer Palace. Would the dragons be too naive? Or, the dragon's target was actually not the Dragon Slayer Palace. Who else could it be but the Dragon Slayer Palace? Wait a minute. It can't be me, right? Qin Feiyang was surprised. When he was discussing with Jiang Dafei, he had never thought that the dragon's conspiracy might be targeting him. Qindage, did you find anything? Right then, Fire Lotus entered the cultivation room. Yes, the 4 ancestral dragons have descended and are lying in ambush under the plain. Qin Feiyang nodded. Fire Lotus was surprised. Only the 4 ancestral dragons came?
Yes.
I suspect that their target may not be the Dragon Slayer Palace but me. Qin Feiyang said. This is also possible. Because in the eyes of the dragons, you are a greater threat than the Dragon Slayer Palace. Fire Lotus said. If that's the case, why don't we beat them at their own game and leave the 4 ancestral dragons here forever? A cold light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. Fire Lotus was stunned. She thought that Qin Feiyang would choose to retreat. After all, they had personally experienced the strength of the 4 ancestral dragons. Furthermore, they all possessed heaven-defying artifacts. But who would have thought that he would have such a crazy idea? Killing the 4 ancestral dragons was not an easy task. Furthermore, Yizhong would definitely be there tomorrow. One had to know that Yizhong's strength was not inferior to the ancestral dragons. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed slightly. He strode out of the castle, passed through the medicinal field, and stood above a sea of blood. This was the fresh blood he had collected along the way. Fire Lotus had been following behind him all this time. Looking at the blood sea below, she frowned and said, Qin Dage, this blood should be enough for you to activate Slaughter Domain 4 times. And Qin Feiyang nodded. But 4 times, it was only the first stage. Slaughter Domain, he had divided it into 4 stages. The first stage, the power was enough to crush the heaven-defying artifacts that had not been unsealed. This was also the stage he activated the most often. The second stage, the power was comparable to a dragon. The third stage, the power was comparable to a heaven-defying artifact that had been unsealed. The fourth stage was a Genesis divine weapon. Not to mention the fourth stage for the time being, it was almost impossible to reach at the moment. And he himself did not know if Slaughter Domain could reach this level. But the first 3 stages, as long as there was enough blood, it was definitely possible. However, could the current blood allow Slaughter Domain to reach the 3rd stage? This was the question he was worried about, because the further the Slaughter Domain went, the more blood it needed to absorb. But opening the 2nd stage was definitely not a problem. The power of the 2nd stage was comparable to a dragon. If the 4 ancestral dragons did not have the chance to unlock the heaven-defying artifact seal, even the 2nd stage could kill them. What he was afraid of was not killing them in one blow and giving them time to unlock the seal. No, there can't be any accidents. The 4 ancestral dragons must die this time. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Fire Lotus asked, but the time is so short. Where can we go to collect so much blood? As long as Huai makes a move, there's still time. Right now, we need to find a place. Qin Feiyang whispered. Fire Lotus thought for a while and asked, why don't we go to the North Sea? After the destruction last time, there aren't many sea beasts in the North Sea. Qin Feiyang shook his head, his eyes suddenly flashing with a bright light. He looked at Fire Lotus and said, I thought of a place. Where? Fire Lotus looked at him suspiciously. Inland Sea. Qin Feiyang said word by word. Inland Sea. Fire Lotus pondered without saying a word. After passing through the Inland Sea, we will reach the Dragon's Lair, Divine Dragon Island. Although there is a certain amount of risk, there will definitely be a lot of sea beasts in the Inland Sea. And the sea beasts in the Inland Sea will definitely become our obstruction in the future. Now, we have to get rid of some of them. Qin Feiyang said. All right. Fire Lotus nodded. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal and sent a message to Huai. Buzz. Soon, Huai's shadow appeared and asked, what's wrong? Qin Feiyang briefly explained the situation. So it's like that. Huai suddenly understood and nodded. All right, we'll meet at the bottom of the stone stairs of the Dragon God Palace. But where's Hong Yi? Bring him out together. When the time comes, I'll need him to bring me back to the Dragon God Palace. Qin Feiyang said. All right. Huai nodded and turned off the image crystal. Qin Feiyang also put away the image crystal and a phantom form pill appeared, turning into Li Boob-er's appearance. Then, he drove the castle into the Dragon God Mountain Range. Divine Dragon Island was at the end of the Dragon God Mountain Range, so the Dragon God Palace was the only way. Not long later, he arrived at the bottom of the stone stairs. Hua Yi and Hong Yi were already waiting there. Qin Feiyang left the castle and appeared in front of the two of them. Hong Yi immediately looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a flattering smile, "Brotherly, where are you going now? It has nothing to do with you." Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Hua Yi, who was standing beside Hong Yi. Hua Yi understood and slapped the back of Hong Yi's head with his palm, causing him to faint on the spot. Next, Qin Feiyang sent Hong Yi to the castle and instructed Fire Lotus to let Hong Yi have a good sleep. In short, they absolutely couldn't let Hong Yi know what they were doing. "Let's go." Qin Feiyang looked at Hua Yi and said. Hua Yi waved his hand, rolled up Qin Feiyang, and flew towards the end of the Dragon God Mountain range. "Actually, I have another plan," Hua Yi suddenly said. "What plan?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "Didn't the 4 ancestral dragons want to lure us? Then we'll beat them at their own game and directly sneak into the Divine Dragon Island and destroy their lair," Hua Yi said. "After breaking through to the initial stage of the imperishable realm, your courage has grown." Qin Feiyang looked at Hua Yi in astonishment. Such a crazy plan. If it was before, Hua Yi would never dare to think about it. "Do you know that there's a big problem with your words? Think about it. In the past in the northern region, when was it not me who stepped forward to delay the dragons and buy time for you to open the slaughter domain?" Hua Yi said unhappily. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded again and again and said, "But your plan really won't work because right now, only the 4 ancestral dragons are lying in ambush on the plains, and the dragon sovereign and the other ancestral dragons are nowhere to be seen. That's just because you didn't see it. What if they're hiding in the dark?" Hua Yi said. "But what if they're all on the Divine Dragon Island? Then if we run to the Divine Dragon Island, wouldn't it be the same as walking into a trap? So, we can't gamble." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Hearing this, Hua Yi nodded. Indeed, if it was clear that the Dragon Sovereign and the other ancestral dragons had left the Divine Dragon Island, then they could still gamble. About a few hundred breaths later, crash. The sound of waves came from afar, rolling over. Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi looked over and saw a vast ocean hundreds of thousands of miles away. The wind whistled, and the waves rolled. Hua Yi suddenly stopped. "Why did you stop?" Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Hua Yi asked, "Do you want to enter the inner sea like this?" Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned, looked down at himself, and patted his head. That's right. Right now, he couldn't use the identity of Li Bu to enter the inner sea, because once exposed, he would never be able to return to the Dragon God Palace. Hua Yi said, "Anyway, we're here to find trouble, so just show your true body." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded, took out a facial restoration pill, and threw it into his mouth. Hua Yi also took an illusory appearance pill and returned to his previous appearance. Qin Feiyang was stunned, frowning. "Didn't you say show your true body?" "Isn't this my true body?" Hua Yi laughed. "Don't give me that." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. If this was Hua Yi's true face, how could the people of Nine Heaven Palace not recognize him? From the beginning, this guy had been using a fake face. In other words, after being together for so long, how could Qin Feiyang not know what Hua Yi really looked like? "Don't care about these details, let's go." Hua Yi smiled and took Qin Feiyang, flying towards the inner sea like lightning. "Who is it?" The inner sea is a forbidden area. No one is allowed to enter. But before the two entered the inner sea, accompanied by a cold shout, a fiery red figure flew out from the mountains below, standing behind Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi. His aura was terrifying. It was a half-step eternal realm. There's still someone guarding it? Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi were slightly stunned, stopping in the void, and turned their heads to look. The old man had a ruddy complexion and white hair, wearing a fiery red robe. His eyes also seemed to be made of magma, exuding a threatening aura. Hua Yi whispered, "There doesn't seem to be the aura of a divine dragon." "I didn't sense it." Qin Feiyang nodded. Without the aura of a divine dragon, the old man in front of them must be a human. A human actually helped the dragons guard the inner sea? At the same time, when Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi turned around, the old man's pupils suddenly shrank. Why did these two faces look so familiar? Wait, it seemed to be Qin Feiyang. The old man said in surprise. You are Qin Feiyang and Huai? You know me?
Huai was stunned.
Nonsense. We killed so many divine dragons together in the northern region. It would be strange if they didn't know. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. I thought they only remembered you. After all, I'm just a little follower by your side. Huai chuckled. Qin Feiyang was speechless. No matter how stupid the dragons were, they wouldn't think that Huai was his little follower. Chapter 2459. It's really you guys. The old man immediately turned around and fled. What? Qin Feiyang and Huai looked at each other. They hadn't even started fighting yet. Why did he run away? Swish. Huai took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of the old man. He said helplessly, It's meaningless for you to be like this. No matter what, you should at least exchange 2 moves before running away. Didn't the old man want to? He wanted to too, because if he could catch Qin Feiyang, it would be a great merit. But he didn't have the guts. Who didn't know that Qin Feiyang had a heaven-defying artifact? Who didn't know that the ancestral dragons had been seriously injured in the battle in the North Sea? There was a saying among the dragons that if one didn't have a heaven-defying artifact, one shouldn't hesitate to run away when they saw Qin Feiyang. Get lost. The old man roared. He threw a punch at Huai. Huai's cultivation had long been spread among the dragons. He was a half-step invincible realm cultivator. So, compared to Qin Feiyang, who had a heaven-defying artifact, Huai wasn't that much of a threat. You ran away when you saw Qin Feiyang, but you attacked when you saw me. How much do you look down on me? Huai was a little unhappy. Cut the crap. Get lost if you don't want to die. The old man roared. He was also a half-step invincible realm cultivator. Not to mention killing Huai, he was still confident in blowing him away. This is really annoying. I'm an invincible realm cultivator, but I'm not as intimidating as a half-step supreme god. Huai was extremely angry and slapped out. Boom. The fist and palm met in an instant. The old man spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out like a meteorite. His face was full of disbelief. They were both half-step invincible realm cultivators. How could the other party be so much stronger than him? Swish. Huai took another step forward and landed in front of the old man. He grabbed the old man's neck and said, You still dare to look down on me? You. The old man was terrified. Was this person really just a half-step invincible realm cultivator? Half-step invincible realm was in the past. Humans have to improve, don't they? Huai said. Could it be that you? The old man stared at Huai in surprise. That's right. After countless trials and tribulations, I've finally broken through to the initial imperishable level. As a supreme expert, I don't think I need to tell you the difference between half-step invincible and initial invincible. Huai mocked. The old man's heart trembled. Of course he knew. If an initial immortal realm expert wanted to kill a half-step immortal realm expert, it would be as easy as killing a chick. Sigh. Do you know that you're a disgrace to us humans? To think that a half-step undying would willingly become the dragon's lackey. Huai sighed. Who said I was willing? When the old man heard this, he immediately roared in anger. Huai was stunned. Qin Feiyang also walked up and frowned. If you don't want to, then why are you still working for the dragons? Fate contract, the old man said helplessly. Contract of fate? Qin Feiyang and Huai glanced at each other. Qin Feiyang asked, So it's because of the binding of the fate contract that you have no choice but to work for the dragons? That's right. In fact, in the early years, I was a member of the Dragon God Palace. In order to get resources, I had no choice but to enter the Dragon God Palace. From then on, my fate was controlled by the dragons. Even if I want to change now, I don't have the chance, the old man said. Then why didn't you choose to enter the Dragon Slayer Palace back then? With your cultivation, it's more than enough to enter the Dragon Slayer Palace. Qin Feiyang was suspicious. Do you know when I entered the Dragon God Palace? 100,000 years ago. At that time, the Dragon Slayer Palace hadn't been born yet. The old man said helplessly. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. After pondering for a while, he asked, Then if I give you a chance now, are you willing to abandon the dark and join the light? Hua Yi turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang thought, it's a pity to kill a half-step Undying Realm expert. Hua Yi nodded. A half-step Undying Realm expert was a top expert even in the ancient realm. If he could take him under his command, he would definitely be of great use. Abandon the dark and join the light? The old man was a bit surprised. He looked at Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi and asked suspiciously, you have a way to break the fate contract? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Hua Yi also let go of the old man and said, instead of continuing to be the dragon's lackey and being spurned by others, why don't you follow us and do something big? The old man glanced at the two and asked, can you really break the fate contract? Of course. There's no need to lie to you about this. Qin Feiyang said, I'm directly controlled by the dragon sovereign. The old man said again, controlled by the dragon sovereign? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes. Any human who breaks through to the Undying Realm will be personally controlled by the dragon sovereign, and among us humans, only Yizhong is free. The old man said, he's really free? Then why is he working for the dragons? Qin Feiyang frowned. I don't know. The old man shook his head. How strange. He doesn't control Yizhong. Does the dragon sovereign trust him that much? Qin Feiyang frowned. It's not a normal trust. From what we've seen, Yizhong and the dragon sovereign are like family. Even the dragon's treasury, Yizhong can enter and leave as he pleases. The old man said. Qin Feiyang and Hua Yi exchanged glances. This was really unbelievable. Seems like convincing Yizhong to join the Dragon Slayer Palace won't be an easy task. If you can really break the fate contract, I'll join the Dragon Slayer Palace right away. The old man said. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, no, no, no. Not the Dragon Slayer Palace. You'll be under my command. What's the difference? The old man looked at him suspiciously. Of course there's a difference. The Dragon Slayer Palace is the Dragon Slayer Palace, and I am me. We can't be lumped together. Qin Feiyang said. The old man said, but your ancestor. Qin Feiyang said, two different things. Irrelevant. You're really strange. The old man muttered and nodded. Fine, I'll join. Qin Feiyang chuckled. He didn't expect to subdue a half-step, Undying Realm expert before even entering the Inner Sea. This night was really full of surprises. The process is a bit painful. Bear with it. Don't resist. Qin Feiyang looked at the old man and smiled. Okay. The old man nodded. Qin Feiyang, be quick. Because breaking his fate contract will alarm the dragon sovereign. Hua Yi said. I know. Qin Feiyang nodded and put his hands in front of his chest to form a seal. Buzz. Soon, an enslavement seal appeared. Come on. The old man closed his eyes. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the enslavement seal immediately turned into a stream of light that entered the old man's head and went straight to his divine soul. At the same time, far away in a palace on Divine Dragon Island, a blurry woman was sitting cross-legged. Poof! Suddenly, her body trembled slightly, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Immediately, the woman opened her eyes and two rays of light shot out. Damn it! The woman shouted angrily and suddenly got up and disappeared. Dragon God Mountain Range. The fate contract had been broken, and Qin Feiyang also used the enslavement seal to control the old man. Immediately after, Hua Yi swept up Qin Feiyang and the old man and disappeared into the inner sea like lightning. Swish! Not long after, the woman landed in the sky above the mountain range and scanned the empty mountain range. Her entire body emitted an astonishing cold aura. Then, the woman glanced in the direction of the inner sea, then turned her head to look outside the Dragon God Mountain Range. She then took a step forward and disappeared again. Inland Sea. The night was as dark as ink. Beside the sea, behind a reef, Qin Feiyang and the other two poked their heads out and heaved a sigh of relief when they saw the dragons leave. This old witch came really quickly. Ori shook his head. Qin Feiyang laughed. The fate contract has been broken by someone. How can she not be anxious? Hui said. Then tell me, will she think that it's you? So what if she thinks of it? Qin Feiyang shrugged his shoulders indifferently. With the dragons, their enmity was as deep as the sea, so they didn't care about this. The old man looked at the two of them and was in a good mood. After a full 100,000 years, he had finally broken free and regained his freedom. But suddenly, his body stiffened as he looked inside his divine soul. Why did it feel like there was another restriction that was even more terrifying than the fate contract? Suddenly, he looked at Qin Feiyang and said in a deep voice, "You controlled me before?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang did not deny it. "You're going too far. I trusted you so much, but you took advantage of me? What's the difference between you and the dragons?" The old man was furious. "Of course there's a difference. Although I used the slavery seal to control you, I won't restrict your freedom. Furthermore, the treatment I gave you is countless times better than what Long Zun gave you. I allow you to go to the castle and the Black Tortoise realm to cultivate, as well as soul stones and divine crystals. You can take them all." Qin Feiyang said. "So what? I still can't erase your vile heart." The old man was furious. He thought that he could regain his freedom, but the result was still the same as before. The only difference was, he used to be the dragon's lackey. Now he had become Qin Feiyang's lackey. In his heart, he was extremely unwilling. Don't be shameless. Not to mention that you used to be the dragon's lackey. Even if you were a member of the dragon-slaying palace, you would have to be controlled by the slavery seal first. Let's talk about it later. Do you think that ordinary people can enter the castle and the Black Tortoise realm? Huai snorted coldly. What's so great about the castle and the Black Tortoise realm?
The old man glared at Huai angrily.
Haven't you heard? Back then in the North Sea, the bodies of the ancestral dragons were shattered by the castle. The castle is now a divine object that has surpassed the heavens, Huai said. Is that true? The old man was shocked. He had heard of this matter, but he always felt that it was too exaggerated, because in this world, how could there be a divine object that surpassed the heavens? Then do you know how powerful the time array of the castle and the Black Tortoise realm are? Let me tell you, a day is 100 years. Huai said. What? A day is 100 years. The old man was dumbfounded. Isn't this too outrageous? A frog at the bottom of a well. Huai looked at the old man with disdain. The old man glanced at Huai and then looked at Qin Feiyang. The resentment in his heart slowly disappeared. If that was the case, then for him, it was a great opportunity. What's your name?
Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile.
Fengdaji, the old man said. Qin Feiyang said, after listening to Huai's words, do you still think that I'm the same as the dragons? This, Fengdaji didn't know how to answer. Although he had heard of Qin Feiyang's name, he didn't know what kind of character Qin Feiyang had. So now, it wasn't easy to answer. Chapter 2460. Time reveals a person's heart. You'll slowly find out what kind of person I am in the future. Qin Feiyang said indifferently and then turned to look at the sea. Huai didn't say anything else, because none of the people who followed Qin Feiyang regretted it in the end. Fengdaji looked at the two of them and could only accept this fact helplessly. The inland sea was endless. Huge waves broke the silence of the night and rolled over. Sea beasts could be seen in the waves from time to time. Fengdaji, Qin Feiyang suddenly said. Yes. Fengdaji hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said, there's something I hope you can tell me truthfully. What is it? Fengdaji was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, in the past few years, an old man and a young man have been looting the various city lords' mansions. I believe you should have heard about it. Yes. Fengdaji nodded. Qin Feiyang asked, then who are this old man and young man? Who? Isn't it obvious? They must be the dragon's enemies. Otherwise, how could they do such things? I even suspect that they are from the Dragon Slayer Palace. Fengdaji said. The Dragon Slayer Palace? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He turned to look at Fengdaji and asked suspiciously, why do you think so? Because only the Dragon Slayer Palace dares to go against the dragons. Fengdaji said, it seems that you don't know anything.
Qin Feiyang shook his head.
What do you mean? Fengdaji was suspicious. According to my judgment, This old man and the young man are the dragon's people. And this farce is also a conspiracy against me or the Dragon Slayer Palace, Qin Feiyong said. A conspiracy? Feng Daji was shocked. He really didn't know this. Could it be that the dragons were really plotting something? You're a half-step invincible realm expert. Why is your status so low among the dragons? You don't know anything? Hui frowned as he looked at Feng Daji. Feng Daji bitterly smiled. In your eyes, half-step undying might be very strong. But in the eyes of dragons, half-step undying is nothing at all. What do you mean? Hui was curious. Let me tell you this. There are at least this many half-step undying dragons. Feng Daji stretched out a finger. 100? Hui was bewildered. No. Feng Daji shook his head. More than that? Qin Feiyong looked at Feng Daji in astonishment. In his opinion, the number of 100 that Hui had mentioned was already quite terrifying. Hui asked, is it 1,000? Yes. Feng Daji nodded. Suck. Qin Feiyong and Hui couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. 1,000 half-step invincible realm experts? This was too terrifying. This is just a conservative estimate, because I've only been to Divine Dragon Island once. Furthermore, this doesn't include the stronger initial immortal realm, minor immortal realm, and great immortal realm. In short, the current Dragon Slayer Palace is far inferior to the dragons, Feng Daji said. It's normal that the Dragon Slayer Palace can't compare to the dragons. After all, the dragons have existed for too long. And how long has the Dragon Slayer Palace been established? To be exact, it's only been a few thousand years. Hui said, yes. So it's impossible to destroy the dragons with just the Dragon Slayer Palace alone. This is also why people like me have been relying on the dragons. Feng Daji sighed. Take your time. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Hui nodded. Feng Daji suddenly looked at Qin Feiyong and said, Young Master Qin, I have a question. Go ahead, Qin Feiyong said. Feng Daji asked suspiciously, why don't you let me join the Dragon Slayer Palace directly? Don't you trust me? Qin Feiyong said, even if you join the Dragon Slayer Palace, I'll still control you. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, why do you want me to be under your command? Feng Daji said. Qin Feiyong said, didn't I say just now? I am me, and the Dragon Slayer Palace is the Dragon Slayer Palace. The two have nothing to do with each other. Is that all? Feng Daji asked. Qin Feiyong looked at Feng Daji and said, why don't you tell me why I'm doing this? I don't know. Feng Daji shook his head and said, but I can feel that it's not as simple as you say. Qin Feiyong smiled. This person's insight was quite sharp. Hui looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously and suddenly said, you want to cultivate your own force? Yes. Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and nodded. This isn't like you. In the past, there were so many people who wanted to follow you. Didn't you reject them all? Hui was stunned. That was in the past. When I first entered the ancient world, I didn't have any resources or soul line, but it's different now. I already have enough resources to cultivate others. Don't think that I'll take anyone in. Those who can catch my eye now are at least at the Nine Heavens realm, Qin Feiyong said. I see. What about the big black wolf and the 3 black leopard brothers? They haven't reached the Nine Heavens realm? Hui looked at him mockingly. Cough, cough. They were accidents. Qin Feiyong laughed dryly. You want to cultivate your own force? Feng Daji was stunned and said in surprise, young master, are you not going to join the Dragon Slayer Palace? Qin Feiyong said, I'm now the young master of the Dragon Slayer Palace in name. What? You've been conferred the title of young master? Feng Daji was shocked. You also know the young master of the Dragon Slayer Palace? Qin Feiyong asked. I've heard a little. Since you've been conferred the title of young master, you should be on the same boat with the Dragon Slayer Palace. Why are you still spending time and energy to cultivate your own force? Feng Daji was suspicious. Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, the situation of the Dragon Slayer Palace isn't optimistic. I'll have a say in the Dragon Slayer Palace if I have my own force. Not optimistic? Feng Daji was stunned and asked, are the people of the Dragon Slayer Palace not on good terms? You've been with the dragons for so many years. Don't you know the situation of the Dragon Slayer Palace? Qin Feiyong looked at Feng Daji suspiciously. The Dragon Slayer Palace has always been mysterious. Even among the four emperors, we only know about your ancestor and Lu Zhengyang. The dragons haven't found out about the other two emperors. So, our understanding of the Dragon Slayer Palace is the most basic. Feng Daji said, I see. I've never been to the Dragon Slayer Palace, but after interacting with the people of the Dragon Slayer Palace a few times, I can basically confirm that the people of the Dragon Slayer Palace are not on good terms, Qin Feiyong said. I see. No wonder you want to cultivate your own force. The way I see it, gaining the right to speak in the dragon-slaying palace is only secondary. The most important reason is that you want to help Qin Badian and Lu Zhengyang. Feng Daji said. Sure. You've seen through me, Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Feng Daji said, after all, you're so old. Some things can be figured out with just a little thought. Qin Feiyong nodded and said, how much do you know about the Inland Sea? I've been guarding the Inland Sea for more than 20,000 years. I know it like the back of my hand. Feng Daji smiled confidently. Okay. Qin Feiyong was delighted. With this person leading the way, they would definitely be able to avoid a lot of risks. But I have a question. What are you doing in the Inland Sea? Are you going to the Divine Dragon Island? If you are, you'd better turn around immediately. Because the Divine Dragon Island is not a place you have the ability to enter now, Feng Daji said. Don't worry. We still have a sense of propriety. The main purpose of this trip to the Inland Sea is to collect blood, Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Collect blood? Feng Daji was stunned for a moment and said in surprise, are you preparing to open the slaughter zone? You even know about the slaughter zone? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Everyone in the Dragon Clan knows about what happened to you guys, Yizichin said. And you've long been listed as one of the must-kill targets in the dragons. Feng Daji couldn't help but shake his head as he said this. Putting Huai aside for the time being, after all, he was strong enough to be seriously injured by the dragons. But this Qin Feiyong was not only a junior, but also a half-step transcendent god. But in the eyes of the dragons, this kid was actually a bigger threat than the Dragon Slayer Palace. These young people nowadays were really amazing. Qin Feiyong looked at the night sky, then looked at Feng Daji and said with a smile, lead the way. Then we'll have to end this quickly, because the sea beasts in the Inland Sea are all the dragons' spies. Once we cause a commotion and they inform the dragons, our situation will be quite bad, Feng Daji said. They're all the dragons' spies? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Yes. Feng Daji nodded and said, and it's impossible to open the altar in the Inland Sea, and there's no way to send messages. We can only fly there. If that's the case, why did the revered dragons come to the north so quickly? Huai asked suspiciously. The dragons are an exception, because this rule of the Inland Sea is specifically targeted at us humans. The dragons are not affected at all. Feng Daji said. There's such an unfair thing? Huai was speechless. There's no such thing as fairness in this world. There's only strength and fist. Whoever's fist is harder will be the king. Feng Daji sneered. Huai was silent, because this was the truth. Speeding up may not solve the problem. Qin Feiyong shook his head. There were too many sea beasts in the Inland Sea. Unless they were all killed in an instant, no matter how fast they were, sooner or later they would alarm the dragons. However, it was undeniable that the Inland Sea was indeed the best place to collect blood. First of all, there were a huge number of sea beasts here. It was the fastest way to collect enough blood. Secondly, these sea beasts were the dragon's spies. In other words, they were the dragon's pawns. If he killed them, he wouldn't feel guilty in his heart. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong glanced at the sea, took a deep breath and said, let's not talk about this for now. We'll collect as much as we can. Let's do it. Huai and Feng Daji nodded, and immediately led Qin Feiyong into the Inland Sea. Boom! Divine power surged out, constantly bombarding the sea below. Roar! Crash! Immediately, the roar of the sea beasts and the rolling sound of the huge waves resounded in the night sky. The corpses of the mountain-like sea beasts floated to the surface of the sea. In an instant, The sea was dyed red with blood. With Hua Yi and Feng Daji, the two strongest experts, there was no need for Qin Feiyang to take action. They were responsible for collecting the blood, and in order to save time, even the corpses of the sea beasts were sent to the blood sea of the Devil's Land. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.